And a Charlotte music great was remembered and honored today. News 36 reporter Joey Pop takes us to a Mardi Gras celebration for the life of Fleet Green.
They jammed some hot Dixieland jazz, all in memory and celebration for one of their own. More than a dozen musicians and many of his fans packed Charlotte's Cajun Queen restaurant to remember Fleet Green. It was here the 75-year-old man made the music for the last 2.5 years of his life. Green died about a week ago after a long battle with cancer. One of Green's biggest fans is Jim Carr. He knew the man for 24 years.
The consummate showman. He was the mentor of dozens and dozens of younger musicians in this area. And anybody who worked with him received total support from him.
He played for my high school graduation and for many of our dances in junior high school and high school. Then I moved away for 20 years, and when I came back, I found Fleet again, still giving and giving and giving with his music.
But this celebration was more than music to everyone's ears. This day, they raised money, too, to start up a scholarship at UNCC in Green's name.
Fleet was very special to us, and you can see from all the musicians that showed up that he's well thought of and well loved by all the people in the area.
And no one was more touched than Green's widow, Caroline.
It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It would thrill him to, well, he knows.
What do you think of the fact that they want to start a scholarship fund in his name at UNCC?
I think it's just absolutely, there are no words to say how I felt about that. I think it's beautiful, just beautiful.
Folks here say the king of Charlotte jazz may be gone, but they're determined to keep his music alive. Joey Pop, News 36.
And from death to
and bad weather.
Eastern Airlines grinds to a halt on most of its routes, and here in the Piedmont, some warnings of nasty weather.
I'm Steve Raleigh. I'll have the information on those warnings and watches all across the Piedmont. We've had some severe weather in the last few hours.
It hasn't even begun yet, but the team is facing its first rainout. This is Dave Barker. I'll have the story coming up.
Eastern machinists are on strike, but pilots today are the focus. I'm Mary Shalvargian.
The service reports a shortage of $30 million in their current budget, so they're looking for ways to cut spending. Now, one proposal involved the in Raleigh last November. They also looked into why these federal radar systems can often break down. Well, this morning at the National Weather Service in Charlotte, the radar went down between 5 and 6 a.m. Despite that failure, radar here was handled through the Hickory system, and there was no loss of weather data.
Lightning is to blame for a house fire in Matthews this afternoon. There were no injuries once the pilots back at work.
Eastern has asked a federal judge to order the pilots back. The company says they haven't gone through the proper procedures to strike. The pilots say they are merely honoring the picket lines.
Our news
on that. Now, straight ahead, a community is fighting back against drugs.
And the story of emergency surgery to prevent a drug overdose.
I'm Joey Pop in Union County. I'll tell you about a new program that will help students understand themselves better and possibly even prevent violent crimes in school.
Hi, I'm Dr. Red Duke. Let's talk about some of the miracles of having babies and some of the problems we can have.
It's okay to be you, and that's what Union County school officials are about to present in a new pilot program they hope will improve students' self-esteem. As News 36 reporter Joey Pop tells us, it may also help to fight back against recent crime in the schools.
It might be worth looking into, but...
Jackie Staten hopes her Forest Hills High School never has to experience what happened last November. Her next-door neighbor, Danny Allen, was allegedly stabbed and killed by student bus driver James Barino. 2 weeks earlier, a Parkwood junior high girl was reportedly sexually attacked by 2 fellow students. Soon after the 2 events, Superintendent Nancy Davis formed a task force to study student behavior. Well, the fruits of that labor are now about to be introduced as true colors.
In an age now where our values and our morals are changing so fast, we can barely keep up with them ourselves, because, you know, we're trying to figure out why is this and why do we do this and what do we do this for.
The program was presented to Jackie and Glenn Girding. They were asked to arrange and order 4 cards and how each best represents their actions. Its intention to identify their strengths and weaknesses and how to improve self-esteem.
Yes, I think it can help.
For some people, it would only reinforce, you know, like what I already know about myself, but for others, it might be of help.
Soon, all high school students in Union County schools will be analyzed through this pilot program that could identify high-risk students capable of violence.
I hope it might teach them a little bit about impulse control.
If they know that in a given situation they're likely to act some way, then maybe they'll also learn that if they take just a few minutes and stop and think, they can change what could become a tragedy into just solving a problem by getting some assistance or handling it a different way.
In addition to Union County schools, Shelby City elementary students will also participate in this program. Now, next week here in Union County, teachers will be trained. Then come early April, students will be analyzed through True Colors. Joey Pop, News 36, Union County.
So, just a moment with the latest weather.
These aren't your average twins headed home from the hospital. I'm Beatrice Thompson, and we'll tell you why these boys were so special.
AIDS antibody. That would be about 1/3 of the residents. As of last month, only 122 of those had been confirmed with the AIDS virus. The United Way study has been 6 months in the making. It recommends education as the vital tool in saving lives. It also suggests that the county start up an AIDS community coalition. The Metrolina AIDS Project, an organization that helps infected patients, welcomes that added support.
With the other agencies, it will also assist us. We're limited in what we can do. And so if there's an overall body that can provide representation to our state legislature or provide representation for individuals, I think that benefits all of us. It also benefits us in terms of raising the awareness.
Since last month, 59 people in Mecklenburg County have died from AIDS. 383 have died statewide. The congressional panel has debated taking action. We'll interview one of our congressmen in the middle of that debate.
I'm Joey Pop. It appears Chantilly Elementary will not become Charlotte's first midway school. I'll have reaction.
And I'm Steve Raleigh. Coming up, a little outdoor weather. And let me tell you, you've heard snow is in the forecast by now, but it doesn't look like it's time to rush the supermarkets. We'll have the details up next.
The rash of mid-flight airliner accidents has led to some new efforts to make the skies safer. The Federal Aviation Administration is ordering an $800 million repair program for older planes. In tonight's Inside Story on for the airlines, as the profits shrink, the idea of keeping old airliners flying looks better and better. We'll have more tomorrow at 5:30.
And of course, Eastern planes are not flying. The Eastern Airlines strike entered its 4th day, with neither side making any significant move toward a resolution.
Well, our Daves in Washington have been considering what, if anything, to do about the Eastern strike. Subcommittee that's been voting on the issue has finally come up with a vote 21-12 now to send the issue out of committee to go to the full committee. So the Public Works Committee will be looking at this beginning on Thursday. Tops the news around the Carolinas today.
Here's the midway school idea for Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools is dead for next year. News 36 reporter Joey Pop has reaction from parents and school board officials.
Carol York is one of many parents who wants to keep their children where they are, and that's Chantilly.
The midway school concept, as it's been explained to me over the past 3 weeks, I think can be an important tool in the future for Charlotte-Mecklenburg, but not for Chantilly. Chantilly's already an integrated neighborhood school, and there aren't many of those in Charlotte-Mecklenburg.
York believes her comments to the school board last week helped them realize that Chantilly Elementary is already an ideal school when it comes to integration. Kay Freeman is also breathing a sigh of relief. Her 2 daughters would have been bused to Chantilly from Clear Creek Elementary. The change meant doubling the bus ride.
It increases our bus ride from 20 minutes to 45 minutes, and it's on dangerous roads, Albemarle Road and Independence Boulevard or Central, whichever route they chose. They're terrible.
A longer bus ride is one reason why school board member Arthur Griffin can't vote for the Chantilly Midway proposal. However, he and other members are supportive of forming midway schools, an effort in bringing white and black students to one central location without disturbing an already good situation, like in this case, Chantilly.
This board is totally committed to a desegregated school system and much in favor of looking at midpoint schools in the future. As a matter of fact, we've committed ourselves to specifically look at midpoint schools during the month of June.
If it was a better situation, closer to home and better roads, I think we would be much more open to the idea.
Next Tuesday, school board members will make it official whether Chantilly is or is not a midway school for next school year. But if the proposal does get voted down, it's back to the drawing board as to where a midway school will be placed for the 1990-91 school year. Joey Pop, News 36.
Another Charlotte...
It is a true scenario for 4,000 Southeastern Asians who now call Charlotte home. Many are refugees from Cambodia, men, women, and children. Oh, this is the topic of our Inside Story this evening. News 36 reporter Joey Pop joins us now in the newsroom as he introduces us to the young people learning what it's like to be an American, even though most are waiting for that day when they can officially be called U.S. citizens.
Good evening, Tom and Jesse. You may know about the half-dozen schools in Charlotte-Mecklenburg that offer a special ESL class. And what that means is learning English as a second language. Well, I too was at Piedmont Open Middle School today, where more than 100 students are part of this curriculum. I think most want to be high achievers, not only in school, but also in life. Samlee Savay has lived in Charlotte longer than his native country of Cambodia. The 13-year-old will never forget why his family and hundreds like his fled here from there. Do you often think, where would you be if you weren't here?
In the ground dead, or in a camp somewhere.
Today, the 7th grader is being taught in the education system just like any other child in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Between classes, it's not uncommon to find Sam Lee and his friends speaking in their native tongue. The same goes at home. He speaks Cambodian. But in class, it's English, a language he knows he must master to live a productive life here.
I want to go to college, and if they have mechanic over there, I study mechanic.
Sanata Lim is very new to Charlotte. She arrived before Christmas, and for her, learning math, science, and geography in English is a dream come true. Are you happy to be here?
Yes.
Why?
Because I have freedom.
And for Lao Sing Tho, her 6 years here have seen tremendous growth. She's now in the advanced ESL class.
At first it was really hard to get along because I couldn't speak English, and especially in school, I couldn't speak to anybody. I cry all day.
Keep both of your eyes open. Both eyes open. Now, let's watch and see what he does. Okay.
Their teachers say these students are more than special, especially when you consider what turmoil most have suffered before coming to America.
They are highly motivated themselves because they want to fit in and they want to be able to communicate and belong to the schools they go to.
Isn't that a breath of fresh air in this day and time?
It certainly is. It makes it really fun to teach them.
Some people tell me to go live in California. I said, this isn't where I want to live. This is where all my friends, my favorite school, my favorite place to go. And I know a lot around Charlotte.
I think it's worth also noting that as a majority, the school board officials or school officials say that discipline is not a big problem with this group of kids. And I got the impression today that they truly do value the educational system in this country, and they don't want to do anything negative to jeopardize their being here.
Of course, Joy, this special series ties in with a special documentary, rather, that NBC is airing tonight.
It sure does, Tom. In fact, NBC will air the documentary To Be an American. That's tonight here on today's 36 at 10 o'clock. And as I understand it, it will focus on an Asian family determined to make a go of it in this country after the struggle that they had in Cambodia. I think that you might see that this story could have just as easily been shot in Charlotte. I believe it actually was filmed in Massachusetts.
A lot of those students will probably be watching. Are the students, for the majority in that class, American citizens as yet?
Jesse, the students that we talked with, they are not American citizens, and this is a dream that they want to see come true. As I understand it, they must be in this country at least 5 years, take a test, and learn English, and they're doing that.
Yes, they are. Thank you, Joey.
All right. Thanks, Joey. Well, in the Carolinas today, a heavy coat of...
The media. It's been a while since we've seen Jerry Falwell here in the Queen City. Close to 2 years ago, his presence was daily as the interim leader to PTL. But he will be here tonight at Hickory Grove Baptist Church. We are awaiting his arrival. Tom and Jesse.
Was Jerry Falwell's, is this his only appearance at this kind of a conference?
No, as a matter of fact, he was in Atlanta just last month at a similar conference that was also put on by the same organizer. And as we understand it, he will be the first independent that will be at the Southern Baptist Convention later this year. That's in June.
All right, it'd be interesting to see if he talks with the media this evening. Thank you, Joey. Coming up, Jerry Peterson introduces us.
Johnny. Later on.
36, Jerry Falwell is in Charlotte tonight, and as you'll see, he has quite a bit to say.
We'll tell you which airline you can turn to now that Eastern has filed for bankruptcy.
John Tower speaks out on what the future holds for him.
And West Charlotte residents speak out about what's on their minds.
News 36.
This is News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The man who has been a leader of Baptists and other Christians for years is in Charlotte tonight.
The Reverend Jerry Falwell addressed a large congregation at a Charlotte church tonight. In our top story, Joey Pop tells us Falwell was quite outspoken.
Well, Tom and Jesse, the Reverend Jerry Falwell brought them in this evening. An overflowing crowd at Hickory Grove Baptist Church, estimated at more than 3,000. They heard Falwell speak of keeping the church strong going into the 21st century and to strive to keep morals high. He spoke against issues like abortion and organizations like Planned Parenthood and the National Organization for Women. But before he addressed this three-day Southern Baptist Conference, he talked with us. After arriving in the Queen City late this afternoon, Falwell was escorted to Hickory Grove Baptist Church. About to speak to mostly fundamentalists, the independent from Lynchburg, Virginia, said his message was for all Christians.
We're for anybody who believes the Bible, loves Christ, trying to reach the world for the Savior, and that is what this church here is all about.
It's been close to 2 years since Jerry Falwell spent time here as interim leader to PTL. Tonight, he did not have much to say about it, except...
As far as I'm concerned, PTL's been a dead issue for a long time.
Before the service got underway, fundamentalists welcomed his visit.
To hear him, to actually see what he believes in, because basically we're all Christians.
Inside, Falwell was warmly greeted by the Hickory Grove congregation and visitors of this conference. They listened to his words.
I hear all the controversy over issues that should never be controversial among Christians. The inerrancy of Scripture should never create controversy among believers.
He went on to speak against foreign investors buying up this country, said we must fight AIDS and to beware of an economic collapse in the West. In short, he said to keep this country strong, the local church must be strong. Tom and Jesse?
Does Falwell plan to continue to address fundamentalists?
Yes, he sure does. In fact, he will be at the Southern Baptist Convention in Las Vegas. That's in June. He will be speaking to one of the conferences that will be in relation to that convention.
How's his own ministry doing?
He told us tonight that his own ministry is doing very well, thank you, that this year he has a budget of $130 million. That's up from $40 million from a year ago. Also, Liberty University is doing very well, he said.
All right, Joey, thanks for that report.
All right. Eastern Airlines.
Tomorrow, despite yesterday's fire there, today crews cleaned hallways and boarded up the teacher's lounge where the fire is believed to have started. The small fire is still under investigation, but there is speculation a tin can and a microwave could have sparked that blaze. The question how that could have happened remains unanswered since no one was supposed to be in that part of the building on a Saturday. School officials say damage to the classrooms is only smoke, but it's not going to be harmful for tomorrow's classes.
Obviously, there'll be some odor from the smoke and the fire, but basically we're going to continue to work on that even through the day tomorrow, and hopefully each day to be less.
Damage is still being assessed. It may run as high as $60,000. More than 100 people have now been questioned by police about that fire. He or she is bringing in the crowds. Flocking to Asheboro to see one of the newest prides of the Tar Heel State. News 36 reporter Joey Pop is one of them. He takes us to the North Carolina Zoo where thousands of visitors are getting a peek at a new baby gorilla.
This type of reaction happened over and over as North Carolina's firstborn lowlands gorilla went before thousands of eyes this weekend. It's the 17th lowlands gorilla to be born in captivity in the U.S., the 12th to survive.
I'm so proud of it I could just burst.
Why is that?
Because it's a North Carolinian. I'm a North Carolinian, and that's a North Carolina event.
I'm real excited about it. I think it's real important for North Carolina to put money in things like this.
Blue and pink ribbon laced the North Carolina Zoo's entrance. As hoped, the mom is still making us guess if she has a boy or girl. But for the first time, she held it up and speculation is running high.
They really want to make absolutely sure before they announce which it is. She keeps holding it up, and our spectators tell us it's a boy. But we have not seen officially, so I can't say, but perhaps tomorrow.
Throughout the day, Hope nursed her newborn as proud Papa Carlos looked on. He has not yet been allowed to touch the babe, but while our camera was there, he inched his way to catch a close glimpse. The whole sight astounds kids of all ages.
I saw the baby the whole time.
You did?
And I saw the daddy, and I saw him running. It's a little teeny gorilla, and I think they want to see it.
So for now, Little Hope has a little boy, but that hasn't been confirmed, and it probably won't be confirmed until sometime this week. Once that happens, that's when he or she will get a name. In Asheville at the North Carolina Zoo, Joey Pop, News 36.
I don't know who had more fun, Joey or the kids, but with today's balmy weather...
It is on today's shuttle mission.
And is there justice in Charlotte? Some questions and surprising answers in today's Inside Story.
This is Dave Barker. The long-awaited Independence Road construction project finally underway, and I'll have a reaction from an expert in just a little bit.
Development around Mountain Island Lake may be a hazard to Charlotte's water supply. I'm Beatrice Thompson. We'll tell you what measures are being taken to protect it.
I'm Joey Pop. Eastern Airline workers joined the unemployment line, but will they get unemployment benefits? I'll have a report.
This is News 30.
Motorists will also have to fight with a number of other construction tie-ups. Heather to its cap.
Airlines are finally heading home one day late. The airline could not handle the overload of passengers who took advantage of Eastern Shuttle's rock-bottom prices. Now, only a few passengers are stranded today. Eastern boss Frank Lorenzo is still saying the airline will recover. Here in Charlotte, hundreds of workers who have been laid off are now trying to find out if they can collect unemployment. As Joey Pop reports, some are looking for new jobs today.
Sheila Oates is one of 550 Eastern Reservation agents who was laid off last Thursday. Until she finds out if she'll get unemployment benefits, Sheila is looking for work.
I'm an Eastern employee, hoping to see what you have available.
Good. This tells you a little bit about the positions we have open here in Charlotte.
U.S. Air is taking applications to fill about a dozen positions. The work would be to act as a host for their airport club. As of early afternoon, Sheila was one of 60 wanting the job. A lot are other laid-off Eastern workers. Earlier in the day, Sheila and other laid-off workers stood in line at the Employment Security Commission. They all left with questions unanswered.
We are non-contract. We're non-strikers, but in the state of North Carolina, we're caught in a catch-22 situation because if a strike occurs, we don't have the opportunity for employment benefits. And I don't think it's the fact that these people do not want to work. Now, I don't think anybody wants to be up here taking advantage of this. We'd just like to have our jobs back, if that's an option, or let us know some kind of information that we can get on with our lives.
Employment security personnel say their hands are tied until North Carolina decides if the non-striking workers get unemployment benefits.
Right now, we're waiting on our legal department to advise us exactly how to proceed on these claims.
Hopefully we'll know something by the end of the month, maybe sooner. And then somebody was told earlier that it could be up to 2 months because of the bankruptcy. At this point, we don't know.
Now, if these employees are still out of work come this Friday, the Employment Security Commission is expected to open up a central location where these workers can file for unemployment benefits. That location has not been determined, but officials say they expect it to be named in the next couple of days. Joey Pop, News 36.
Straight ahead, a murder.
You can get that feeling right here at Mooresville Senior High School. It's a small-town school that is dealing with the big city problem of drugs in a very straightforward and graphic way.
I shot up twice. I leaned back, wait for it to hit. But it didn't.
I started doing Yellow Jacket, Red, Bluebird, Barbiturates. Life turned into an elevator that was going both ways at once, and always a heartbeat from crashing.
A Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, it is not. Addicts is about teenagers, the most popular kid in school, the shyest girl in class, a rock singer, a jock, a babysitter.
At 2 a.m., I woke up and there were these rats chewing behind my eyes.
Addicts is not the kind of play you would expect to find in high school. All of the principal players are on drugs. Alcohol, heroin, LSD, cocaine experiences are detailed. And all of the principal players die. Their deaths are described in graphic detail. So graphic that Sarah Mott, the teacher who directs it, is suggesting that children under the age of 13 not see it. The play has a strong message, but one she feels is important.
Even though it's a small community, drugs are very much on the scene because I teach in a subject area where my students open up a lot and talk about it, and they're very aware of it.
Drugs in Mooresville, that is a message that no one is, of course, going to be comfortable with. And you combine that with the graphic nature of Addict, and you have the possibility of a real controversy. However, that is not the way the play was viewed this evening by the crowd here. They gave it a standing ovation.
Just like in the play, it involved children, you know, in that age group. So, yes, I think they should. I don't believe it's too graphic for them, not at all.
I liked it because it really put the point across just how dangerous drugs are.
I think it really got to them very much.
Now, the play does have a very limited run here in Mooresville. It was presented to the public tonight. Tomorrow, the high school and junior high school students get to see it. Bill?
And it moves around to other schools, I guess, then, David. So if there are other schools that would like it, could they call Mooresville for information?
They certainly could call Mooresville. It is a play that was written by a Texan, I believe, and it is available through all of the normal channels that high school plays normally are.
Okay, good. David Haynes reporting live with our cover story from Mooresville.
For not doing its homework. Tonight's Inside Story.
Larry Sprinkle.
Who is the best chef? We'll have a taste.
We're working on for our 11 o'clock newscast. We follow the cyanide scare regarding Chilean produce and see how Charlotte is reacting. We'll see what the school board decides about Chantilly Elementary and its midway school proposal, and a horse that likes nothing better when it gets hot outside to guzzle cold beer. That's tonight at 11.
Well, the head of the Republican National Committee plans to do a little rockin' and rollin' tonight on the David Letterman Show. The South Carolina native Lee Atwater is not only a political advisor, he is also very well known for his blues guitar playing. Well, tonight he'll be jamming with what he calls one of the tightest bands in America. You can see Lee Atwater on the Letterman Show tonight at 12:30 here on Today's 36.
One of Asheboro's newest residents finally has that name. The baby gorilla boy, born March 1st, has been named Kwanzaa. The name means first and was chosen by the 9 zookeepers who will work with the gorillas. Kwanzaa is the first baby for Hope the gorilla and is attracting record crowds at the zoo. The zoo received 400 letters and calls with name suggestions. The name was ultimately chosen from a Swahili.
On March 27th.
The warning remains tonight. We'll have the latest on the cyanide scare.
Young Democrats are charting their party's future in Mecklenburg County.
Is it Chantilly or not? The school board voted on a midway school tonight.
And what's wrong with this picture? The story next on News 36. Good evening and thanks for joining us. In the news, terrorism comes to the supermarket. Scary, yet all too. Bush administration officials tonight are taking steps to stop the sudden flood of semi-automatic weaponic leaders in our various governments, both here and in Washington. Local party leaders and members of the Mecklenburg County Young Democrats hope to change that this year. Tonight, a strategy meeting to iron out plans and plot futures.
We don't want to make any great major changes, but we do need to adapt to the changes that we're having at the state and national and local level of our own Democratic Party. We see that we have suffered some setbacks.
Former Mayor Harvey Gantt was the keynote speaker tonight. Gantt told the group there's nothing wrong with the Democratic Party, it's just that leaders aren't getting out the message to the people. Gantt did not reveal his plans for the future.
That long-awaited widening project on Independence Boulevard entered its second day today. There are 9 who has evaded the law for months.
The South Carolina doctor who was slain at a New York hospital, the board's choice for a midway school.
And they've been meeting all night to decide that. Our Joey Pop will have a live report. Mecklenburg County School Board decided whether or not Chantilly Elementary School will become Charlotte's first midway school. It's been very controversial in recent weeks. Well, the concept would bring together both white and black students from non-adjacent neighborhoods.
The present Chantilly student body would be bused elsewhere. For the past several weeks, the proposal has caused an uproar. The focus of our Inside Story tonight, Joey Pop, is at the Education Building and has the latest.
Board members, there seems to be some sentiment that the Chantilly plan won't fly as it's been presented. Given the fact that it represents probably 70-75% of the change that we're proposing, I just can't support making these recommendations without some clear policy and guidance as to some of the reasons that have been put forth for some of the recommendations.
Well, Tom and Jesse, what you just heard was Arthur Griffin making a proposal to actually freeze the actual pupil assignment for next year, but that's not going to happen. It is official. Chantilly will not become Charlotte's first midway school. Therefore, 895 students will stay where they are for next year. The 380 that are presently attending that school and the rest that would have been bused in. Now, of the 9 proposed pupil assignment changes, all but 3 passed, which means about 350 students will be reassigned. Now, like I said, Arthur Griffin's proposal was outvoted, but what he did propose later in this evening's meeting was to create a task force to study a 5-year pupil assignment vision. He says that it would actually eliminate the year-to-year dilemma that parents would not have to hold their breaths every February and March as far as where that pupil assignment will take place. The plan also calls for looking at future school sites. Tom and Jesse, back to you.
They've been talking about construction of new schools and so forth. Did they talk about that tonight in relation to the freeze on the pupil reassignment and so forth?
Well, they did talk about those new construction sites. In fact, that's what this Arthur Griffin plan is all about. And he's also talking about that midway concept, which is not a dead issue. It's something that the school board will look into come this June.
You mentioned the board did reject some other plans as well as the Chantilly proposal. Let's talk about those.
Well, first of all, 60 students at Matthews Elementary, they will remain where they are next year. Now, that was Proposal 9. You may remember that a couple of weeks ago, we introduced you to Brooke Schroeder. She is a 2nd grader at Matthews. Well, had she been moved, then she would have ended up going to 3 different schools by the time she was in the 4th grade. Well, that concern is out of jeopardy tonight. The other proposal that was nixed was Proposal 1 that calls for 65 students in the Tuckasegee and the West Charlotte area. Those students will remain where they are. So actually what we're talking about, just about 350 students will actually be reassigned for next year. That's really just a handful of the 72,000 students in the system.
Must be some relieved parents this evening.
There are tonight.
That story's ahead in the world today.
I'm Joey Pop in Statesville. The inside story. Residents here want to know if their community is contaminated with pesticides.
I'm Dave Stanley, the fact finder. If Uncle Sam owes you money, there's a way you can get it back in a hurry. But it's not cheap, and I'll show you why.
Well, a 4th grade Sharon Elementary student was struck by a government is unhappy.
Waiting for word on when 5 tons of buried pesticides at a closed-door plant will be removed. Their concern is the topic of our inside story tonight. News 36 reporter Joey Pop tells us action is underway to keep the federal government on top of this community problem.
The FCX Center went bankrupt 3 years ago. Soon afterwards, the Environmental Protection Agency was alerted that behind this fence, 5 tons of pesticides, such as chloridane and DDT, might be buried on the site. Now the EPA has the site on its Superfund cleanup list. But a year has passed since that word's been out, and still no cleanup. For Frank Woods, the action can happen soon enough. He lives across the street from FCX, and even though Woods is tapped onto the city water line, there's concern the pesticides could filter into the air.
I wouldn't mind getting out, get you kind of upset, but where would I go? Been living here all my life, it'd be mighty hard.
W.L. Hopp also lives near the center. He points out 2 pipes on the site where the EPA is testing groundwater.
Well, I'm not too worried about it. As long as they keep it out of the water pipes or the water system.
Even a mile from FCX, residents are concerned. Most of these folks are not on the city tap line. They drink well water. They've been told water contamination is possible, and that's why they're pushing for the cleanup. Come April 5th, concerned citizens for a cleaner environment will meet here at the Monticello Volunteer Fire Department outside Statesville. They want to keep this issue alive. They feel that the EPA needs to stay on top of it to make sure that this cleanup actually takes place and that this project doesn't be put on the back burner.
To work full-time. As the numbers of working mothers...
How could any fish be worth $60,000?
I'll take you behind the scenes and introduce you to the person who puts the Charlotte Hornets on the air.
Turned out to be a great preschool in Charlotte got the afternoon off thanks to a broken water pipe. Officials dismissed school at 1:45 because of a lack of water in the restrooms and cafeteria. The water is back on now at the building, and a program for...
A lot of mileage, but that highly publicized feud between Bryant Gumbel and David Letterman may have finally come to an end. Of course, the two have been at odds.
When the Charlotte Hornets take to the court, a lot of fans take to the television.
Ever wonder what goes into making a Hornets broadcast? Well, Jerry Peterson is ahead with Peterson's People.
And sports is also ahead. We'll have a look at all today's first-round NCAA action next.
Have sold out the rest of their home games.
Well, there are going to be some real big fishtails in South Carolina this weekend.
And one could be worth thousands of dollars.
I'm Joey Pop. I'll tell you why this Lake Wiley fish is worth $60,000.
Call Amethyst 554-8373.
Want to make a fast buck? Our Joey Pop shows us that all you need is a fishing rod, a $5 entry fee, and a touch of lady luck.
This is a $60,000 baby.
They call this crappie Tangle-Free Tom, and if you catch him with a special reel and rod, $60,000 could be yours. Today, Tom, the jackpot, is one of 1,086 crappies being tagged and thrown into Lake Wiley for a 60-day tournament. Prizes start at $25, go all the way to the jackpot, $60 grand. Area merchants think the event is a real catch in landing them some big bucks. $1 to $2 million could be generated for the local economy.
And so that's what we've got our fingers crossed for.
We're expecting a lot of business in the next 60 days from it.
They hope 5,000 to 10,000 folks from around the southeast will drop in to try their luck. What are you looking for once again?
$60,000 Tangle-Free Tom. That's what I want.
This is the first crappie-thon at Lake Wiley. The same event starts up next week at Lake Norman. Surrounding businesses and sponsors are taking entry forms. So if you want to join the fun, the fish start biting this Saturday. The crappie-thon goes through May 16th. $5 to enter. With the fish being stocked days in advance, organizers have a way to determine if any of the tagged fish get caught before the tourney is officially underway. Winners must take a polygraph or stress voice test to claim their prize. Now, by mid-May, they expect up to 30% of all the tagged fish to be caught. Joey Pop, News 36.
You know, I wonder why he came in with a fishing rod earlier.
Yeah. You need one of those, what's that stuff that catches fish like crazy? Need a lot of that stuff to win that contest. Worms.
Yeah.
That's what my grandfather's old problem has circled back around. Practically swimming with fishermen today. We'll have that story next. The show, we've now received pictures from Lake Wiley, busy today, stocked with fish worth thousands of dollars. That is fishermen from all around the area hoping to cash in on the annual crappie-thon tournament. We sent our expert, Joey Pop, out to find some of the prize catch. He brings us this fish story.
It was day 2 of this 60-day crappie-thon. For David Whiteside, the Fort Mill native was on hand hoping to catch the big one.
Ain't he a nice one?
I don't see any tag.
Nah. No tags. This is a $60,000 baby.
Last week, Tangle-Free Tom and 1,085 other crappie were tagged and released into Lake Wiley. Old Tom's worth 60 grand if caught with a special brand of reel and rod. His buddies range in cash prizes starting at $25 each. A $5 entry fee has hundreds of fishermen trying their luck. For the walkers from Shelby, they still haven't caught a tagged fish, even though 30-some untagged crappie got hooked today.
None of them's tagged. Wasn't lucky today. I'm going to catch one of those tagged fish before I quit.
Ray caught a $50 one last year, but we haven't caught anything yet this year.
But the clerk of this Lake Wiley convenience market says at least 3 $25 winners have walked into her store this weekend. She says the prizes are out there. It's just a matter of time when the big catch gets reeled in. These high school fellows want a piece of the action. Today, they fished from the bank where the big money catch were thrown in.
I think I'm going to hit it big today.
Get any bites?
We've gotten several. And got hung up. That's terrible.
False alarm, huh?
Yeah.
Ryan and his buddy might not have been lucky today, but they say there's always tomorrow. Promoters claim up to 30% of the tagged fish could be caught by May 16th. So it appears that Tangle-Free Tom may still be out here in these waters, but there's still 58 more days for this crappie tournament. On Lake Wiley, Joey Pop, News 36.
And another big catch on Lake Wiley today. For those of you who say we don't do enough fish stories, 82 teams of fishermen out to snag the biggest catch of bass, a $5,000 prize for the winner. The tournament was one of two sponsored by the North Carolina Bass Federation this year. All the profits, about $6,000 worth, go to the Ronald McDonald houses, 4 of them in North Carolina. Federation says it prides itself on helping youth and preserving conservation.
The conservation side, there's nothing for our youth to look forward to on the fishing, so we believe very much in catch and release and not kill the fish and put them back in the lake alive.
Larry Pearson of Cramerton, Doug Braden of Mount Holly, the big winners today. They split a $5,000 jackpot.
All communities is a great deal.
By the National Cancer Institute. House talks about teacher pay.
Believe it or not, today was the first day of spring. It certainly hasn't felt like it. Let's look at some temperatures right now across North and South
Charlotte Mecklenburg teachers' morale and attitudes change since their rally in Raleigh. I'll take a look.
Asked tonight after another deadly Marine helicopter crash.
This time
it's intertwined with our lives to such an extent that many people will say it provides the soundtrack to their existence.
It's radio. Well, more pay for teachers. That's what North Carolina Speaker of the House and State Senate President Pro Tem said today in Charlotte. Joe Mavretic and Henson Barnes visited the Queen City and First Ward Elementary. Barnes says the Senate endorses a 6% hike, but Mavretic, rather, says the House has not yet committed to any figure. But both men don't support the career ladder plan as it's presently set up. As far as paying for an increase,
on the Senate side, we feel that we can find the funds without going through a 1-cent sales tax increase. That is not to say that if we cannot find that amount of funds, that we won't look at it. And it is not to say we will not increase some taxes.
We're looking, first of all, at structure. And once we decide on a structure that we believe is the best, then we'll cost that out. And then we'll decide where the revenues ought to come from.
both men say 70% of the current 5-cent sales tax goes to education. And they also believe a new teacher pay schedule needs to be put in order.
Well, tomorrow will be 5 weeks to the day that hundreds of teachers from our area marched on Raleigh for more pay. News 36 reporter Joey Pop visited some classrooms today to see if the teacher morale has shifted gears now that it appears that their crying out is producing results.
If you need a sheet or you need a quiz.
Ann Cannon is right at home in the classroom. She's been here 22 years. But Cannon claims her salary doesn't match up to her experience. The reason why she rallied in Raleigh February the 14th. Well, today she believes morale and attitude are on the rise.
Very hopeful. And I think if nothing else was accomplished, the overall support we got from the community, the parents, everybody we saw was really cheering us on, so to speak. And I think that in itself was as much of a boost as hopefully any monetary results.
Others say attitude will only get better when their paychecks grow.
In a setting where you have teachers conversing with teachers, then the attitudes aren't as good as they should be.
So they continue to fight for higher pay, even though it appears the will is turning in their favor. Students say they can tell the difference in their teacher's response to a projected pay increase.
She's a little more nicer, in my opinion.
They're nicer, so I think they should get more pay. And we're the best school in the nation as we got that award, so they should get a little bit more pay.
If she get a raise, she can be happier than what she are now. And if he give her a raise, we can get more candy. She give out candy.
Oh, you want more candy out of this deal. Whether it means more candy or keeping the profession respectable, teachers say the state government must stay on top of this issue and correct the pay system now.
Area Catholics are talking about what they see as terribly wrong in the Charlotte Diocese.
And a North Carolina professor is talking to 5 different schools all at the same time.
All this plus Larry Sprinkle's forecast and Benny Parsons on sports.
News 36. Yes, in the news, could Charlotte Mecklenburg teachers earn an extra 7% in supplemental pay? That was the issue tonight as the school board heard proposals for next year's budget.
Our Joey Pop was there tonight. He has our top story. Now, in it, he details the latest on the school board's money matters.
Before he even got started, Superintendent Peter Relic pointed out that $10 million have already been shaved from next year's proposed operating budget. Still, it's just under $92 million, an 8.7% increase over last year. The addition will go towards several areas like Relic's push for a comprehensive dropout prevention program, pay equity for non-teaching positions, and the 7% pay increase for all teachers' supplemental salaries. The supplement is a bonus Mecklenburg County tacks on the state's base pay.
Undoubtedly, the county manager will say you won't need that amount, you won't need that much. Let's not accept that. Let's do something significant regarding the local supplement to the teacher pay scale.
If the state gives a 6% pay increase across the board, Charlotte-Mecklenburg teachers could see a significant jump over this year's salary.
It's very important. It's important to me as a single parent that I receive some kind of paycheck during the summer.
The supplement still puts, it's like icing on the cake if you're talking just base pay, and that's how we attract teachers to Mecklenburg County, and that's how we keep a lot of our teachers.
Relic says a hefty chunk of the budget is already spoken for. The county is obligated to pay a higher insurance fee for employees, and $2.5 million must go for the basic education program and the state's controversial career ladder plan. The next step, the board will take public response April the 6th. Then they will make possible adjustments before sending it over to county commissioners by May 1st. In Uptown Charlotte, Joey Pop, News 36.
Charlotte like very worried tonight.
And a plan to keep students from dropping out of school. We may be losing that fight so far.
Not only students in our schools' classrooms nowadays, but also police. This is Dave Barker. I'll tell you why in just a little bit.
I'm Joey Pop. Coming up, if Charlotte-Mecklenburg teachers get a 7% supplemental pay raise, it could affect your property tax.
I'm Glenn Counts in Charlotte. The city is no longer poor and free. I'll have the story.
This is News. The superintendent wants nearly $92 million for the county to operate the schools next year. A chunk of that request is for giving teachers a 7% increase in supplemental pay. News 36 reporter Joey Pop found out today, if the budget is approved as it stands, a property tax hike is not out of the question.
Teacher Deborah Scott is encouraged to hear her superintendent wants all Charlotte-Mecklenburg teachers to get a 7% pay hike. The supplemental salary is an added bonus the county pays for.
It's an admirable chance for county commissioners and the state to try to make us think that they are really trying to do what they can do, excuse me, to help increase teacher salaries. But it isn't enough for me to just jump up and shout.
Scott believes her 15 years experience still calls for more money. Her base salary is around $23,000 a year. Her supplement, about $5,000, a total of $28,000. If the state gives her a 6% raise and the county a 7% increase for her supplement, she will make just under $30,000 next year. She feels her salary should be around $35,000 in order to compete with other states. Higher teacher pay is just one reason why the proposed budget is about 9% higher than this year's. County Manager Jerry Fox says if the budget gets approved the way it stands, it could mean a tax hike.
We have to depend on the property tax as our major source of revenue without alternative revenue sources.
Scott believes the county can find the money without additional property tax.
And I think if we put our children in top priority, then our programs for children will come first, financially and otherwise.
So you think that the county commissioners could shift some priorities?
I do.
Without a tax increase locally?
Yes.
Last year, about 4 cents were added on to every $100 in property tax to fund county needs like education. Folks we talked with today had mixed feelings about another increase.
It's one of the most important things to the economy here, having our education system improved. If that's part of it, and if that's what it takes, yeah.
I would be in favor of the teachers getting their pay raise, yeah, but if that meant increase in my property taxes, well, I'd be kind of hesitant voting for the teachers getting their pay raise.
Keep in mind that none of this is set in stone just yet. The school board will entertain a public hearing April the 6th, and then they will actually make adjustments if necessary around April 18th. The county commissioners, along with Jerry Fox, should see this proposed budget by May 1st. Joey Pop, News 36.
Well, there is more to the school system's proposed budget than higher teacher pay. Relic says the school system must spend more to prevent students from dropping out of school. Last year, more than 1,700 students decided to call it quits, a figure Relic says is way too high. That's the reason he wants $1 million to go toward developing an alternative high school for high-risk students.
But we want to say that we're going to have the best pupil retention rate, which, looking at it the other way, says the lowest dropout rate of any school district in the southeast of comparable size. If we agree and if we state that as a goal, then we have to develop the means and the strategic plans and the measurements to do that, and I hope we take on that and many other challenges.
The alternative school is still 3 years away, but Dr. Relic wants the funding now to begin work next year in prison. Authorities say that you can help prevent tragedies of this sort by speaking up.
Our Glenn Counts is live in our newsroom with the story. Glenn?
Tom, Jesse, the case you've heard about is the kind that gets everybody all upset. For a while it works. People become more aware of child abuse and report it more often. But then public interest seems to wane. All that tells social...
I'll have a report.
Tonight, they believe that the Southeast Compact low-level radioactive waste site could be dumped on them. News 36 reporter Joey Pop shows us they staged a funeral today to generate awareness of how deadly they feel such a dump can be.
We are fighting for ourselves this moment.
The pouring rain did not stop them. Residents of Wadesboro and Anson County dramatically depicted how they feel about radioactive waste possibly coming into their backyard.
We of Anson County are gathered here today in reverence of a dearly departed loved one, our own Anson County.
This is my understanding, if this site was located and at full capacity, that we would receive 36% of the United States low-level radioactive waste produced in the United States for a 20-year period.
Anson is one of about 50 counties that could be chosen by the state to take low-level radioactive waste. A state committee is expected to name its location by November 1990. It's here in the isolated part of Anson County where folks believe that they'll be dumped on. Population is low, and so is industry.
It's a small community. And most of this ground we got over here, it drains all into the PD River.
So you think that there could be contamination?
It could be, and that PD River goes all the way to the ocean.
Tonight at the middle school, the chairman for the North Carolina Low-Level Radioactive Waste Committee will hold a forum and answer questions from these residents.
Before we all go off half-cocked, I think we have a right to listen to what they have to say. There need to be some answer questions. Would this hinder industrial development? Would it promote industrial development? And it's the two sides of this thing, you know. We're trying to get industry in this town, and by this getting here, would this help or hurt?
What do you think it will do?
It may hurt, then again, some people say it may help, but I think it will hurt mostly anything else.
Rowan and Catawba County residents will also have the chance to speak up and ask questions when the Education Forum takes place in their communities April 4th and 5th. Joey Pop, News 36.
A thin layer of asbestos found in a layer of...
The team's heading to the Final Four.
And they are asking why in Chester County, South Carolina, after the brutal murder of an elderly couple.
I'm Joey Pop in Chester County, South Carolina. Police in this community are very baffled as to why an elderly couple were murdered here. I'll have a report.
The alleged sexual assault on a baby has neighbors asking the DA to do even more. This is Dave Barker. I'll have the story coming up.
I'm Glenn Counts in Gaston County. It looks like a trailer, but for one woman, it was a prison. I'll have her story.
This is News. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. In the news, the people of Chester County, South Carolina are upset tonight. They want to know why an elderly couple was gunned down, murdered in cold blood.
They were found at their home Easter morning. In our top story, News 36 reporter Joey Pop tells us this kind of violent crime is not new to the couple's small community.
Tom and Jesse, this is the third murder in a year and a half's time in the West Bend Road area of Chester County. Neighbors are puzzled and very concerned. They say that a fatal stabbing in 1987 remains unsolved. That's something they don't want to see happen in the most recent shootings. Easter morning, the son of Evelyn and John Corder walked into his parents' home only to find his mother shot in the back of the head. The 78-year-old woman was lying face down in the bedroom. Outside, on the path leading to the woods, John Corder was found shot to death, too. The news traveled fast among Chester's people. Today, folks at the local bakery were stunned. This is where Evelyn Corder worked part-time.
I can't believe that it happened, especially to an older couple like that. I mean, it's scary, and they hadn't found the person yet. And
investigators say they are working on some clues, but no suspects have been arrested. Today, a helicopter searched the area looking for the couple's car. The sheriff says it was stolen from the house, but nothing else appears missing.
The house was not ransacked. A few drawers were pulled out, but stuff was not ransacked.
Was anything taken from the house?
At this point, we don't know.
It was a different story in September of '87 when robbery was the motive of another murder just down the road. Victor Burnett's mother's neighbor was stabbed 42 times. It's a case still wide open.
I believe a lot of it's got to do with this cocaine and crack, stuff like that, these high-powered drugs.
Today, Brunette hopes that at least the Quarters murder or murderers are found soon. As the investigation continues, the community remains in shock. Even the Quarters' collie appears lost, waiting for its owner.
It's just hard to believe something like that happened. I used to play with their grandson all the time. We used to ride around together, and she has cooked me Sunday dinner and stuff I eat with them on Sunday.
Authorities are asking for your help tonight. They say that the car that was stolen from the Quarters' home is a 1984 maroon Chevrolet Cavalier. That's South Carolina tag GTX 825. If you have any information, you're asked to call the Chester County Sheriff's Department at area code 803-581-5131. A national alert is out for this car. Tom and Jesse, back to you.
Joey, do the police believe that the 1987 murder might somehow be connected to the Quarters murder this weekend?
Today, Sheriff Orr would not rule out the two being related, but they are, at this point in time, not looking at the two actually being related. 1987, it was clearly defined that that motive was robbery. This one, not actually robbery in the house, but the robbery of that car, the stealing of that car. So they're not ruling it out, but they're also, at this point, not looking into it heavily.
People in Chester County may want to know about funeral arrangements, Joey. What do we know about them at this point?
That was decided today. Now, tomorrow, the family will receive friends from 7 to 9 in the evening at Wright's Home for Funerals. Wednesday, the couple's funeral will be at their church. That's Woodward Church at 3 o'clock.
Bill, transportation woes, are they going to hit you?
As some Japanese students are hitting the Carolinas for a taste of culture.
Rex Chapman is hitting the big time. He's going commercial.
And Final Four fever is hitting all of us. Those stories and more next on News 36.
This is News 36.
For joining us tonight. At this hour, the North Carolina Highway Patrol tells News 36 that traffic is flowing smoothly through a bottleneck construction zone on I-85 southbound.
Highway officials expected the new project to strangle rush hour traffic between Charlotte and Gastonia, but
yards from our station, a one-car accident on Hood Road has fired. And the question, could your child be riding on a school bus that's unsafe? The National Transportation Safety Board says it's a possibility. The board is recommending tonight that more than 1/5 of the nation's school buses be retired as unsafe. It says states should phase out buses not meeting 1977 federal standards, and that would pull 77,000 school buses out of circulation. This recommendation comes as the board ends its investigation of a school bus crash in Kentucky last year that claimed 27 lives. There is an expensive cloud hanging over the head of the nation's biggest automaker tonight. The EPA has ordered the recall of 6
baseball team may be in Hickory's future. Chamber of Commerce and city leaders say the push is on. An undisclosed 50-acre site for a new stadium is expected to be donated soon. Officials won't say where it is other than that it sits in West Hickory. Earlier, a site near the Hickory Speedway was a potential location. City officials said they'll start recruiting a Class A minor league baseball team, and they'll campaign before major league owners. The team could bring more than $2 million into the area. Women in trouble in Caldwell County are now safer than ever before because of a terrifying experience there almost 3 weeks ago.
Is over and school's back in session at Lenore Rhine College. Just in time to host some very special visitors from Japan. News 36 reporter Joey Pop takes us to Hickory tonight to find out that students a half world away are very similar to our own.
Our activities, football, it's a big favorite sport for everyone.
For the next several days, cultures will be exchanged around the clock as these Japanese and Lenore Rhine students get to know each other. This week, women from Jukakuin Junior College, a Lutheran school, are here to experience American college life. LR was specially chosen.
This is one of the Lutheran Church affiliated schools, and our professor in Japan wanted to put the girls to visit one of the one of the Lutheran Church schools in the States.
Erico is back in the States introducing America to her students. 9 years ago, she graduated from Wittenberg College in Ohio. Now she teaches English in Japan. Her students have been learning English since junior high school, a language they say is essential to grasp. And visiting the States is a dream come true.
I want a teacher's license to teach English, but in Japan it is too difficult to be a teacher, so almost students cannot be a teacher.
So you feel that your experience here in the United States will help you become a better teacher? Besides learning in the classroom this week, the 19 women are also taking time to enjoy the Carolina lifestyle. Tonight, we caught them on a shopping spree. Back on campus, LR students welcomed their new friends.
We tried to explain a sorority, so we're trying to, just some of the clubs and activities that we're in, trying to teach them what it's like to be an Illinois Rhine student.
The girl that I'm keeping is an education major that I am, and it's just a neat experience to learn how she teaches Japanese children and to swap ideas.
Would you like to visit their campus someday?
Yeah, I think it'd be really nice. I'd like to go there.
Before the group heads back to Japan, they will have visited New York City, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and also here at Lenoir Rhine College, which they say will be the highlight of their tour, the chance to be on this college campus. And
just ahead, we'll have some important information about the safety of your family.
I'm Joey Pop. I'll tell you why bus number 46 and many more in North Carolina are considered unsafe.
What does the number 2 school bus maker in the country feel about today's government report? This is Dave Barker in High Point. I'll have the answer.
I'm Glenn Counts in Stanley County. A teenager accused of murdering his father takes the stand. I'll have the story.
This is news.
In the news, some of the school buses your children are riding on may be dangerous. The National Transportation Safety Board wants them taken off the road.
School buses built before 1977 do not meet modern safety standards, and the board is now recommending that some 77,000 of them be phased out. This in response to last May's collision between a church bus and a pickup truck in Kentucky. 24 children and 3 adults died. In today's top story, Joey Pop looks at old and possibly dangerous school buses in our area.
Tom and Jesse, more than 13,000 school buses travel North Carolina highways and roads. Just under 2,000 of those are considered unsafe by the federal government. They were built before 1977 with less safety measures than today's models. Just about every school system have these older models, including Charlotte-Mecklenburg. They have about 80. Well, today we went to Iredell County, where about 9% of those buses need to be replaced. 5th grader Jeff Cannon rides the bus to and from Brawley School every day, a ritual for the past 5 years. Well, today, Jeff's mom was shocked to hear bus 46 is considered unsafe.
I was a little surprised.
Concerned?
Well, a little, I guess. Sure. You want them to be as safe as possible.
Bus 46 is one of 1,931 other pre-77s on the road with students. The government says 3 primary problems plague the older models: structure, uncaged gas tanks, and low back seats. Newer models offer safer features.
As you can see, the seats are better constructed, higher, and then of course you can look at the top and it's better constructed, and the bus overall is better constructed.
Besides high back seats, there are more rivets in the ceiling and a reinforced gasoline tank. Iredell County Schools own 10 pre-77s. They'd like to replace them all by next year, but in order to do that, $5 million more must be given to the state education system by the legislature. The current plan calls for all the pre-77s to be off the road by July 1991. Jeff's mom says the sooner, the better.
Of course, I would want all of those things corrected that seem to be a problem. That would make me feel much better.
Now, Iredell school officials quickly pointed out that they think that school good maintenance is the primary key to bus safety, regardless of the bus age. However, they do hope that the pre-77s do get replaced before July of 1991. Tom and Jesse, back to you.
Joey, in terms of replacing these buses, if the school system doesn't want to wait for the state money, can it appropriate money from the county?
Yes, that money would Well, that money would have to come from the operating budget, and that's something that Charlotte-Mecklenburg is looking into. In fact, Charles Allison from Charlotte-Mecklenburg told me today that they expect that 80 pre-77s here in this school system that they expect to be replaced by June of next year, a full year ahead of the other school systems across the state.
In your reporting today, did you find evidence of any trouble with those older models here?
In Iredell County, they said that they have never had a problem with pre-77s. Historically, it's been a good bus, and they also attributed that to that good maintenance, if that's any consolation to concerned parents that may be watching tonight.
Okay.
All right, Joey, thank you.
Well, you may be asking yourself, what happens to the old school buses? In Iredell County, more than 35 of them sit in a back lot waiting for new owners. The school system can sell the old buses and use the money to help fund the new. And as for enforcing the regulations on those older models, well, that's up to the federal government.
We take them off the road, and because they don't meet the standards, and an individual can take them and make a camper out of them, they can use them for a church bus. At the present time now, they may not be able to do this in the future, but at the present time, they can use them.
Many are inside story tonight. Through these doors, a 94-year-old Charlottean has taken in a homeless family.
But up first, we'll have your outdoor weather report, and heading outside, later we'll have the extended forecast for you.
Okay. Well, the recent rains have been good news for lawns and for farms around the Carolinas. The drought is now officially over. Old and the new making a life together. But how they joined is the real story. Our inside story tonight. News 36 reporter Joey Pop introduces us to a young homeless family bouncing back with the help of an elderly Charlotte man.
A year ago, Pam Davis was pregnant with Sabrina. She and her husband Tony were living at the Salvation Army homeless shelter looking for work and a home. Across town in Myers Park, 93-year-old Jimmy Gupton was looking for full-time company. He'd lost his wife and was beginning to lose his health. Then he heard about Charlotte's homeless people, so he decided to help and take in a family. The deal, he'd provide room and board, they'd provide care and assistance.
Now, they came here in about middle of March last year. And I didn't know a thing in the world about the baby coming.
Little Sabrina came along last fall, keeping Pam a full-time mom and no time for work. She also suffers from a mental disorder. But husband Tony is now holding down 2 jobs in addition to helping around the house. The Davises are trying to get back on their feet.
Just starting to get to where we're going to try to save some money and everything, but I still want a place of my own. You know, I think everybody does, and I think everybody needs a place of their own. But we'll stay with Mr. Gupton as long as, if he needs us, we'll stay with him.
Pretty nice, Mr. Gupton, you know, letting us stay here and all. Well, we, you know, try to help him out as much as we can, you know, and it's kind of hard for him to get up and down and all.
Gupton says the Davises are welcome to stay as long as they wish. They're now restoring the dining room, and he says they've sparked new life in his old home.
I said, dear Lord, I feel like that this is the reason you're keeping me here. There's something else on earth that you want me to do. And if it is, before bringing me home, if it is, let me know so I can get busy with it.
Is this it?
This is it.
I think God sent us here, I really do. We joined the church that Mr. Gupton goes to, Luzon Methodist of the church. Tony and I were both baptized earlier in the year, and Sabrina was Sabrina was baptized, and we were made members of the church. But I think it was a blessing. I think God had something to do with it.
When that child was born, I said, this is what he wanted me to do. And so we just got along fine.
So now they're a family, caring for each other, and perhaps teaching a lesson to all of us. In Myers Park.
It led to the shooting of a 23-year-old last night. Darrell Charles Bonner is in the county jail tonight, charged with several offenses after his alleged firebombing and arson of both his apartment and car. Police tonight arrested Bonner after a one-day stay in the hospital following an arm injury he suffered trying to escape. A county sheriff's deputy shot Bonner after his alleged attack of another policeman. The officer, whose name has not been released, also lived in the Summit Ridge apartments. No court date's been set for Bonner. An 18-month veteran of the Charlotte Police Department is on administrative leave tonight. The department must now determine if he was acting in self-defense when he shot and killed a man last night. News 36 reporter Joey Pop tells us the neighbors of the victim are still outraged.
Today, friends of 33-year-old Jake King said his death was unnecessary.
If he was armed, why would they shoot him twice?
Like that.
in the leg or arm or something just to, you know, bring him under control.
Last night, 24-year-old Charlotte police officer Scott Pope was called by medic to respond to an assault at 1509 Luther Street. King had allegedly beaten with glass a family member. A police report says Officer Pope shot King twice.
Can you tell us through this investigation if Officer Pope was threatened and he felt he needed to use deadly force?
I don't have the complete information in front of me. All I have was what was the initial press release. The officer felt threatened and discharged his firearm.
This man says he witnessed the shooting. He questions the self-defense.
His hand was up the whole time. As soon as he got to the door, he threw his hands up like that. And say, here I am, I ain't got nothing. He was unarmed.
Keith says there are conflicting reports as to what happened, and there's no official word from police headquarters tonight if King was armed with a weapon. King had a lengthy arrest record dating back to 1971, from armed robbery to murder. Records show 2 murder arrests, one in 1982 and the other in 1984. But no information today if he had been convicted or served time. His last arrest was in 1985. Friends say he was trying to turn his life around for the better.
He had some bad times in his life, but he had changed his life. He had 2 daughters he was rearing.
And an investigation into this incident continues. The findings will go before the district attorney. He will decide if any charges should be brought against Scott Pope or anyone else involved in this incident. I'm Joey Pop. I'll show you Charlotte's first brewery in more than 30 years.
Cities like St. Louis and Milwaukee may come to mind, but now put Charlotte on the list. News 36 reporter Joey Pop takes us to the Queen City's first brewery in 32 years.
Inside these walls, a whole lot of hops, barley, and malt are being cooked up to produce 3 kinds of beer. More than 500,000 glasses worth a year are expected to come from the Dilworth Brewing Company.
There is where we open up these manways, we put our yeast in, close her up, and then control temperatures as we go through our fermentation time.
28-year-old Phil Hall opened the brewery last week. For the past 9 years, he experimented with the idea in his Hendersonville home as a home brewer. But now he hopes to make it his profession in Charlotte. He contracted a German-born beer expert to help with the recipes.
And of course, you can brew for your local clientele. And you can brew 3 or 4 brands and even specialty beers and have something to please everybody. Whereas if you have a large 10 million barrel brewery, you gotta brew to average taste.
After a 28-day brewing process, the beer is sold just a few feet away inside the pub. $1.75 will buy you either Reed's Gold, Albemarle Ale, or Dilworth Porter.
It goes down a lot smoother and it's easier to drink.
Something new for Charlotte, don't you think?
Yeah, I think not only the fact that the beer's good, but I think the fact that it's brewed here.
All 3 that I've tried are great, especially the first one. I believe that was the Reed's Golden. It has sort of a strong, robust flavor, and it's not as conventional or traditional as the normal beers you find.
I like the stout. The Pilsner is a very good beer, and the second beer, the ale, is a very smooth beer, but this is my kind of beer. When they start bottling this, I'm going to have to come over here and buy it.
If business takes off, Hall may start to bottle the beer, but for now, if you want to sample the hometown product, a visit to the brewery pub is the only way.
In the pocketbook.
And in tonight's Inside Story, a ripoff that can cost the elderly big bucks.
Fire at a Charlotte church with 150 kids inside. This is Dave Barker. I'll have the story coming up.
Here at Charlotte Memorial Hospital, an error in the pharmacy may have caused 3 deaths within 6 months. I'm Joey Pop. I'll have the latest.
If you haven't yet noticed, and you might not have, gas prices are going up, way up. I'm Mary Shalvargi, and I'll have an update on what's going on.
This is News 36.
Joe Chambers, known for his fire and brimstone views here in Charlotte, well, earlier today his a lit cigarette is being blamed for a fire that heavily damaged the house.
He faced more charges tomorrow in connection with the death of another patient there. The death apparently caused by an error in drug labeling. This the 3rd such incident. News 36 reporter Joey Pop has details on this latest patient death.
69-year-old Alice Covert lived here in Concord. She was a retired bookkeeper. A neighbor says she suffered an aneurysm last June. After becoming critically ill, she was rushed from Cabarrus Memorial to Charlotte Memorial Hospital. She died June 13th. Hospital officials refused an interview today, but said through a news release, The cause of death was due to infusion of highly acetic acid. Covert was given a stronger medication than needed as a result of a bottle being mislabeled. A hospital spokesperson confirmed today that after Ms. Covert's death, the family was given an amount of money through an out-of-court settlement. No dollar figure was available today. The family refuses comment. Hospital officials do confirm a lawsuit was never filed. Now the North Carolina Board of Pharmacy is expected to amend earlier charges from 2 other deaths to include Covert's death. Last year, the Board of Pharmacy suspended the license of a former Memorial pharmacist for negligence in sending the wrong solution to the operating room. 2 heart patients died from the solution. I talked with David Work this morning. He is the director for the North Carolina Board of Pharmacy in Chapel Hill. He says that the hospital should find out tomorrow if the board will impose any type of disciplinary action on this hospital and pharmacy. Also tomorrow in Wake County, a Superior Court judge is expected to hear arguments from Memorial's attorney stating that it's the North Carolina Department of Resources that should make that decision about the pharmacy's future and not the North Carolina Board of Pharmacy. Joey Pop, News 36.
You may be asking yourself, just how safe are we when hospitals administer drugs? Well, one expert says pharmacists and other hospital personnel are not exempt from human error. He says safeguard procedures may be hard to define.
What the patient receives in a hospital, there again, you got to go back to checks and balances that hopefully through the pharmacist, the nurse, and the doctor, everything is being checked properly to verify that what has been actually written and dispensed to the patient is actually what is administered by the nurse or used in the operating room.
Dagenhart does not know how. 36 Charlotte Memorial Hospital has gone to court after the revelation that a 3rd person died there accidentally.
And a local man is hospitalized today after another accident at the McGuire nuclear plant.
I'm Glenn Counts in Charlotte. Master recordings are used to record music, but they also got 2 Charlotte men in big trouble with the IRS. I'll have the story.
I'm Kurt Lee. Employability. It's nice if you have it, but a task force here says the handicapped do not have employability.
This is News 36.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. In the news tonight, a crucial legal battle. Charlotte Memorial Hospital in court in Raleigh today.
At issue, who has control over the hospital's pharmacy in the wake of 3 deaths there due to mislabeled medication? Now, our Joey Pop is following the story. We will have a live report coming up later in this newscast. A Duke Power employee was...
People have died accidentally at Charlotte Memorial Hospital.
Our Joey Pop has been in Raleigh for Charlotte Memorial's court appearance, and he joins us live now via satellite. Joey.
Tom and Jesse, Charlotte Memorial was hoping to convince a Superior Court judge today that it's the state's Department of Human Resources that should determine the hospital's fate and not the North Carolina Board of Pharmacy. This afternoon in the Wake County Courthouse, Superior Court Judge Don Stevens heard from both sides concerns from the Board of Pharmacy and the hospital.
The pharmaceutical function is an integral, fundamental function of the general hospital function, and that to interfere with or otherwise suspend the pharmaceutical function will necessarily result in a suspension of the total hospital function. Put another way, we simply cannot run our hospital without a pharmacy.
The hospital has not been shut down. The board has not issued a decision shutting down the hospital, and the board has not even issued a decision with any kind of sanctions against the pharmacy permit, which is really the only thing that the board has jurisdiction over, is this pharmacy permit.
Now, Carmichael went on to say that a pharmacy permit is subject to a disciplinary action. Judge Stevens did ask McKeithen today if the hospital would object if the board disciplined individual pharmacists and not the pharmacy as a whole. McKeithen said individual assessment wouldn't close the pharmacy. The hearing lasted for about 2 hours. Judge Stevens heard all sides. He did not make a decision today. He is taking this administrative appeal under advisement, and he expects to have a decision in the next few days. Tom and Jesse, back to you.
Joey, in terms of the argument over this jurisdictional situation here, does the hospital feel that the Department of Human Resources would be more lenient than the Board of Pharmacy?
That's a question that probably many people are asking, and that's something that cannot be assumed at this time. However, a department representative did speak today and did say that the hospital has been issued a new operating permit, a license for this next year. But that doesn't mean that the department would actually conduct its own investigation. So at this time, it's really hard to say.
Okay, I guess we wait a couple of weeks then. Thank you, Joey.
A couple of days, maybe.
A couple of days.
Okay. The North Carolina Board of Pharmacy is investigating Charlotte Memorial's pharmacy as a whole in Alice Covert's death, whereas in 2 heart patients' deaths from January of last year, former pharmacist and director Wayne Reinhardt was charged with negligence. Well, today Reinhardt is working in administration at the Huntersville Oaks nursing home. This morning he told News 36 charges are still pending for negligence and failure to communicate in relation to those 2 heart patients. He also told us he has not been stripped of his pharmacist license. Charlotte Memorial spokesman Alan Taylor says Reinhardt is still employed within the hospital authority, which includes Huntersville Oaks. As far as any other back to the Carolinas, we'll have some words of warning for you tonight. And ahead in today's Inside Story, we'll look at the NBA in the Olympics.
I'm Kurt Lee. Coming up on News 36, unusual April cold in the Piedmont. Snow today, and for some areas, frost warnings for tonight.
I'm Glenn Counts at Douglas International. The Eastern sale. Employees still have a lot of questions. I'll have the story.
Exxon's cleanup effort. Joey.
Well, Jesse, good afternoon. This Exxon issue is being debated across the country. In Atlanta, a local radio station there is pitching a campaign to listeners to cut up Exxon credit cards and also boycott the company, all in protest for what they feel a large company is dragging its feet in this cleanup effort. Well, today in Charlotte, the topic of discussion hit the radio airwaves.
And I have already sent my card back in, cut it in half.
The oil spill topic lit up the phones today on WBTV's H.A. Thompson show, but callers spoke out on both sides of the issue.
I do not believe the spill was their fault. I believe they are trying, I truly do believe they're trying to the best of their ability to contain it because they just know the bad press.
Okay. We're a little bit slow. What the government should have done was immediately gone in there and cleaned it up and billed Exxon 3 times as much for it.
As far as Exxon sales, local dealers say they haven't seen a significant drop in business, but they are concerned.
There is concern of it, but as far as hurting us volume-wise, I don't believe that it will. Some people say, hey, I'll never buy Exxon again. But it's like me refusing to buy a certain type car because someone had a wreck in that car and got killed. You know, it's not right to blame the entire company.
Questions have been raised about how Exxon intends to respond.
Just today, Aikens received a videotaped message for customers to view. The 2-minute address by top management says Exxon is acting responsibly in the cleanup effort.
They have several hundred people already out there now trying to clean the spill up and doing what they can. It's going to take some time. The people are going to have to bear with us.
Now, I spoke with the local stock analyst today in Charlotte. He doesn't see any significant drop in Exxon stock. In fact, it's selling just about $1 or $2 less from last year this same time. Jesse?
Of course, you're looking at the local angle, and we're seeing the response. Here is the response in Atlanta, where all of this protest started, about the same?
Well, as a matter of fact, it's more significant there. I spoke with a spokesperson from WGST Radio this afternoon. They got about a dozen Exxon credit cards in the mail today. And they're also getting quite a bit of publicity from all this. I understand that all the
Abortion be legal. This evening, the controversial topic of abortion is at the top of the news here in Charlotte and in the nation's capital.
Pro-choice advocates are in Washington today doing a little arm twisting with our lawmakers.
I'm Glenn Counts at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse. It is a trial about abortion or trespassing. I'll have the story.
I'm Joey Pop in Union County. School bus drivers are taking complaints to school board. I'll have a report.
A Charlotte woman with a brainstorm takes on Charlotte's hunger problem. I'm Mary Shalvarzian. I'll introduce you to Ann Smith.
This is News 36.
School bus drivers in Union County are speaking up. But as News 36 reporter Joey Pop tells us tonight, pay is only one of their concerns. Safety tops the list.
These drivers say they've had it with overcrowded buses and rowdy students. Now the Union County School Board will get the word.
The kid will get his hand slapped and off the bus for a couple of days. He's back on again.
When you say threatened, what do you mean?
I'll knock the whatever out. I'll meet you here, get off the bus, and we'll do this. I've had it.
Gillis says he's complained many times to various principals, but the discipline problems continue, mostly with junior high students.
That's my main problem. They won't stay in their seats. They think the seat's a monkey bar or something they're supposed to just flip over.
The drivers also want the board to consider medical insurance benefits and higher pay, equal to Mecklenburg County. But one school official says that expense would have to come from the already tight operating budget. But the drivers still want all options explored.
I hope that they would form some sort of committee or task force to work with some of our driver representatives and someone on the school board to work over the summer to present something in September when school starts.
As far as discipline, the drivers want to send home a message to parents.
If the parents would talk to their kids more and get them, you know, and stress to them that they need to stay in their seats, you know, that could cause an accident, and they're real loud.
Superintendent Dr. Nancy Davis says that these complaints, including disciplinary problems, have never been addressed to her personally. She hopes that tonight the school board...
Blind railroad crossing has residents of one town calling for action.
To meet some kids who shine brightly both on and off the basketball court.
And a man who shines brightly no matter where he is.
All this plus a state dog for North Carolina. These stories and more next on News 36. What seems to be a sudden trend in Charlotte, the collision.
Well, traffic and its implications were also a topic at the airport advisory meeting today.
Good.
I'm Joey Pop. Teen role models in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools will introduce you to students who have a positive influence on their peers.
And I'm Steve Raleigh. Coming up in the forecast, we've got some cold
The state dog. Well, it could happen. Senator Bob Swain.
Well, when it comes to kids, we often hear the bad side of today's youth, with problems of drugs, teenage pregnancy, and guns in school.
Well, tonight our Inside Story shed some light on the flip side of that coin, today's youth role models. News 36 reporter Joey Pop takes us to an event where some special young people got a pat on the back tonight.
This isn't just any basketball game. These players were handpicked by their peers to be here. An honor, they say, to be called teen role models. 13-year-old Latrium Blanton is here, but a few years down the road, the 3.0 grade point average student hopes to be studying in Durham.
Go to Duke. That's my dream. That's my goal, too.
His mom says her son avoids trouble. She's proud.
I know where he's at most all the time, so he's out of trouble, and he's out of danger, too.
Is he able to influence his friends in a positive way?
A whole lot of ways, yes.
Like what?
Not to get on drugs, to just get all you can out of school in education.
This event has a message, too. This is the third year the county health department has sponsored it.
The health department is very much concerned in wellness, and we're concerned about the person's total wellness. So we have to look at a comprehensive approach as to what is totally needed in order to be totally healthy. And we figure a well-rounded approach is the best approach.
And these students have not been selected just because of their athletic endeavor. They're also here because of good grades and also their well-roundedness in school. And some of Charlotte's finest were on hand to play against the older teens, like Michael Jordan's brother Larry, Police Chief Sam Kilman, and UNC great Matt Doherty.
Some of these kids may not be the best basketball players around, but they're good kids that realize that if they're in a situation that's bad, they'll walk away. Good role models, that they're their own men, and I think it's important to acknowledge that.
How can you influence other youth for the better?
I think you can try to understand them, put yourself in their shoes, and just see where they're coming from and offer advice to them.
And there's a payoff to being at the head of the class. But besides being honored, these young people say they'll continue to be part of North Carolina's finest.
It goes to the hospital.
And Dr. Red Duke continues his look at childhood diseases. Today, the chicken pox is in the hospital today being treated for a thyroid problem.
Medical report brought to you by Presbyterian Hospital's Cancer Center.
Well, not all of North Carolina's farms have been healthy in the 80s. While many farms are still strong, more than 13,000 Tar Heel farms folded between 1982 and 87.
Satanic cult murders.
And from South Carolina, some bragging from the suspected cop killers.
The hottest ticket in town may soon be on fire. I'm Joey Pop. I'll have the inside story if you stand a chance on buying Hornet season tickets for next year.
A boxing great has passed away, and George Bush tries his hand at hoops on sports.
And I'm Steve Raleigh in the forecast. What about cool temperatures? It was literally freezing this morning. Let me show you. In Charlotte, 32 degrees. But look all across the...
From the bottom.
Fans may be left out in the cold. We'll find out why.
And a gruesome tale of cult killings in Mexico. A shocking story of drug dealing and death. And at twice the speed of sound, the supersonic Concorde has a...
You're watching News 36 on WPCQ Charlotte.
A Wake County court has gone against a request from Charlotte Memorial Hospital today. If you're a Charlotte Hornets ticket holder, your hands may be getting burned. The Hornets tickets are hot, and that's the topic of our inside story tonight. And as News 36 reporter Joey Pop tells us, next season's tickets may be even hotter. And Joey, what's the update for people who want those tickets next year?
Well, Tom, that's a question that Hornets management, that's something they're still trying to get answered. Now, the seat that I'm in, and I'm very close to this basketball court, well, it's probably sold out for next year. Spear is keeping his fingers crossed about buying season tickets for next year. He's one of at least 7,000 folks waiting for word.
I have a good chance of getting season tickets up on the balcony.
But Robert won't know for sure until either the end of May or early June. Hornet personnel are now sifting through requests from current season ticket holders to buy more or upgraded seats. Don Stallings is one of the 15,500 season ticket holders this year who renewed before the April 10th deadline.
Got an investment. It's something that I can pass on later to someone in my family if I need to. Those seats are mine, and I love them.
At least 14,000 others like Don are renewing, which leaves only 6,000 season tickets remaining. The Hornets will cap season ticket sales at 20,000. And with 7,000 plus on a waiting list, the season seats appear already gone.
Based upon our early indications, we're going to be a Coliseum that will be filled for 41 dates next year.
But Shear says 3,388 individual seats will be available, probably not until late summer or early fall. But if you're counting on buying courtside seats, think again. With season ticket sales, the high-priced seats are all but gone. It's the cheaper seats that may be available for waiting list folks and individual ticket buyers.
Right now, I'd probably be happy with anywhere in the Coliseum. The way that they say the sales have gone, they've really, it's unbelievable. I went one game as someone gave me some tickets, and the fever just bit me.
But the NBA bite is being felt around the league. Take the Boston Celtics, for example. They sell all but about 2,000 individual seats each year. All are gone well before the games are ever played. In Detroit, this season, all 41 games are expected to be sold out, as well as 15,000 season ticket holders expected to renew next year. And here in Charlotte, the new kid on the block will break all records.
There has never been a team in the history of the NBA to sell 20,000 season tickets.
So the bottom line, if you've sent in your deposit for season tickets for next year, you're already on that waiting list, and you should know by late spring if, in fact, you're going to get those tickets. Now, if you want to get on that list, you still have time. All you have to do is send in that deposit. It's $100 per seat, and if the seats are gone by the time they get to your number, that money will be refunded.
Joy, the hot Hornets tickets here is really pretty much reminiscent of when Carl Scheer was general manager in Denver, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. In fact, it's coincidental. Carl told me today that when Denver entered the league and he was general manager there, that indeed they did set a record, and they continued having record-breaking ticket sales for 3 seasons. Of course, their team was doing very well, and once the team began to fall, so did the season tickets, and that's something they hope doesn't happen here in Charlotte.
Joey, you can't have a final game after a season like this without a few surprises.
You can bet that's true. In fact, next Friday night, this will be a fantastic finale for all the season ticket holders as well as the fans, and they will be given sixth-man T-shirts as well as a commemorative cup to remember this inaugural season. It's unbelievable that this NBA season is almost over, isn't it, Tom and Jesse?
Sure is.
What a story. And across the country,
cold weather may cause locally grown produce to cost you more. In our inside story, News 36 reporter Joey Pop takes us to a strawberry farm where Mother Nature's been fought around the clock.
This one was froze. He's black.
And this one's gone, damaged.
Right, completely gone.
Whereas this one's okay.
That one is a healthy berry right there.
Ira Klein is holding his breath, hoping he doesn't see any more dead strawberry plants. They're a result of this past week's cold spring nights in the foothills of Catawba County. To protect his 12-acre investment, more than 1 million gallons of water have been sprayed onto the small blooms at sunset this past week. The results form ice, which act as a barrier.
When you freeze the ice, they're picking up the heat, and you're also putting a blanket of ice down.
The last couple of nights, temperatures have really dipped here in the foothills. 27 degrees last night, night before 22. But even at that, Ira Klein doesn't believe there's much damage to his crop for this year. Klein says frosty nights are still a good possibility the next few nights, and to warn him of dipping temperatures, he's come up with a unique alarm system.
We have this one set on 38 degrees, where it will come on and turn the alarm on at 38 degrees. You can get a... And that will give us hopefully enough time to get everything in motion before we lose the berries in the field.
Because of the cool spring, his harvest may be a few days late, but he and wife Ann are still hoping for another good crop by mid-May.
We need it. The expense and so on is tremendous in this operation.
But there's still that concern that it could be not so good of a year this year.
Oh, yes. You more or less just ride with the tide.
Now, in 1984, they lost half their crop to conditions just like these, warm days and cold nights. They hope this year proves different, but regardless, their price will probably be higher from last year's harvest because of the work this season's crop has already required.
And as far as nature and the weather is concerned, we can just reach down so low. If the wind is blowing, that's another factor involved, and you can have a loss at a higher temperature.
Most of the Klein's business is through the public picking their own right from the farm. If their annual strawberry festival proves successful again this year, it will be because Mother Nature's warm cycle turns in their favor the next few weeks. In Catawba County, Joey Pop, News 36.
A plane crashed and
I'm Glenn Counts in Gaston County, where the police are trying to solve 2 homicides. I'll have the story. I'm Kurt Lee.
That is the message that Charlotte-Mecklenburg students are getting through a special slideshow and seminar. News 36 reporter Joey Pop takes us inside the classroom where descriptions and pictures of accidents caused by drunk drivers are very gruesome and very real.
The steering wheel hit him right in the chin, and it peeled his complete face all the way back.
The graphic details are intentional to do just what the project is called. Scared Stiff is just now being introduced around the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system. Today, about 300 students got a good dose at East Mecklenburg High, just in time to remind them how deadly drinking and driving can be, especially this time of year. The prom. Tomorrow night, these East Mecklenburg students will live one of their highlights of their school careers. The Highway Patrol wants to see they live past it.
In North Carolina, I don't know really, Joey, if we've ever kept stats on it, but I would say during that course of the couple weeks of spring when the graduation and the proms are going on, we would probably lose anywhere from 5 to 10 people.
I'm not going to be driving, but if my date decides to drink and drive, I'm going to stop him. My dad was hit by a drunk driver at the beach, so I know how scary it can be.
It did scare me a bit to see, what was going on, what kind of the cars that were being wrecked. It just scares me. It makes you want to think twice.
Is drinking and driving a problem with young people?
I think so. I think so.
You think you needed to see something like this?
Mm-hmm.
She was hit at such force that she went out the windshield, the front of the windshield. The car was still going in such a momentum that it caught back up with her, and she came back through the windshield. You couldn't tell anything about her. I mean, it's terrible.
The Highway Patrol and Charlotte Police will take this graphic message to most of the schools in our area just in time for proms and graduation.
Coming up next on Cover Story, anticipation builds for the Vice President's visit to the First Ward Elementary School.
Successfully lands on the other side of the fountain.
You have something you want to say?
No, I just noticed something's not right up there, though.
Oh,
So
okay.
be careful.
Okay, don't go away because thank you.
Hope to get a chance to try it again tomorrow.
All right. Rusty Wallace was smooth today. I mean, he was slick, just over 117 miles an hour. Jump the fountains? Yes, he made the jump.
We feel
Dad
so much
couldn't
better.
do it, but Robbie Knievel made the jump.
No
Way to go,
pictures,
Robbie. No pictures. Can't show pictures.
Nope.
Times for him.
Yeah,
failures
really.
To qualify.
I tell you what, if he doesn't qualify, that'll be 3 out of the last 4 races. He said he just can't get the handling right in his car.
Oh, that's a shame. All righty. Thank you, Hannah.
He caught a crappie worth $5,000. Congratulations. Also, congratulations going out to Charlottean Joe Pop. That is the father of our reporter, Joey Pop. He has been named an assistant coach with the Cleveland Browns. He will be coaching on the defensive side of the ball, and he will be handling the special teams. He's a longtime friend.
All the news is Saturday and Sunday evenings. Did the Yankees win, Terry?
They did. Steve Bye-Bye Balboni hit a grand slam. The Yankees won 8-5 over Minnesota. Remember, if you want some of these scores, call me after the show. I'll be glad to get them.
This is the last day to file your taxes. And more gruesome details from that gravesite in Mexico.
The Vice President visits Charlotte. I'm Mary Shalvarzian. I'll talk to the people who brought him here.
I'm Joey Pop with the Vice President at First Ward School. You'll see what his visit was like here.
This is Brooke Bradley in Washington. Will the Speaker survive? Local congressmen react to the ethics charges against Congressman Jim Wright.
I'm Kurt Lee. The long-awaited final report to the mayor is in. Coming up is a new convention center for Charlotte worth higher taxes.
This is News 36.
Has the night off. In the news, the Vice President of the United States is in Charlotte tonight. Dan Quayle arrived in the Queen City several hours ago. He's here at the request of a conservative group. In our top story, Quayle talks about education, specifically money and busing. Our Mary Shalvarzian.
Elementary school in Charlotte immediately after that. Joey has that story.
That's right, Mary. He went to First Ward School, a school that's known for excellence in education. Dan Quayle praised the school, a product of mandatory busing, even though he doesn't support mandatory busing. But despite that, the vice president, teachers, and most of all students, well, they had quite a day. It started off just like any other school day. The morning playground busy with students anticipating the rest of this special day. Inside, students rehearsing the main event. They played with pride, this school of excellence.
The teachers and the students, we all try to work together to make our school the best.
On the behalf of First Ward School, now we don't want to write a book now, we're writing an inscription.
Down the hall, Tina Wilson's class decided what message would be written into a special book that her class would soon give the vice president. They also made a bio poem in Quayle's honor.
It's like a poem about his life and the way he feels.
Then around 1:45, the vice president appeared, just in time to praise First Ward School.
And as I was reading through some of the things that you do at this school, first I couldn't help but be impressed with the reading program. That some of you read not just 6 books, but after reading 6 books and having an oral discussion about the content of those books, 6 more books.
Afterwards, he received a pen and 4 First Ward sweatshirts.
3, 2.
Then it was on to Tina Wilson's class, where students demonstrated a space project. Then came the bio poem and the book gifts. Finally, Quayle took questions from the media after spending some time with parents and school personnel. He said mandatory busing is a tool that hasn't been very successful.
I would say Charlotte is an example of a place that has a commitment to the quality education. Charlotte, from what I saw today, is an example of where you can have a successful education. This school right here is a clear example of what you can do when you get the parents involved, where you have the teachers involved, where you have a creative principal, and this is a classic school system where it has worked.
Now, Quayle and the Bush administration, they do support school for choice, but as you heard, he says that Charlotte may be an exception to that busing does work here. You may also recall that our school board here at Charlotte-Mecklenburg, they have addressed the school for choice issue, and of course that is still being studied. Mary?
Okay, Tom, well, that wraps up what we pretty much looked at today.
Okay, Mary, I'd like to ask you, how much is Quayle's visit costing and who picks up the tab?
It'll be, by most estimations, between about $10,000 and $12,000. This originally was going to be picked up by the concerned Charlotteans, but because he stopped at the school, taxpayers will pick up almost half of that.
Okay, Joey, we know that Mr. Bush, the president, wants to be known as the education president. Did Vice President Quayle today give any indications that more money is going to be earmarked for public education?
He not necessarily made an announcement, but he did say that, yes, more money would be poured into the public education system this year as opposed to last.
Okay, Joey, Mary, we thank you both. While the Vice President is having his pleasant visit in the Queen City, the man who is next in line after Quayle to be president is now... As Jesse has the night off. In the news, hardcore pornography is showing up in the Queen City again. Just your money. And our Joey Pop will tell us what they're saying.
And I'm Steve Raleigh. A little bit later, we'll tell you about the forecast that has a few showers in it. Right now, take a look how warm it is over our area in the Piedmont. Still in the 70s in a lot of places.
Order for the school board's budget next year. In our Inside Story tonight, News 36 reporter Joey Pop joins us live with information on how board members hope to get that money.
Tom, it's the biggest budget adopted by any Charlotte-Mecklenburg school board. More than $91 million will now be asked for to operate next year's school budget. Two big issues, higher pay and dropout prevention. The school board wants to give a 6% pay increase to all employees, in addition to a 7% supplement raise to teachers. That totals $4.7 million. Now, if that's not enough, they also want to divide another $4 million among first-year teachers, all in an effort to recruit and maintain high-quality personnel. Also included in that package, more money for psychologists and secretaries, as well as some other non-teaching positions. As far as the dropout prevention program, there's been a $100,000 cut from the original $1 million request.
What we do tonight will put a framework on our request to the county commission. They will, by the end of June, levy a tax rate and appropriate an amount of money to us. That will then become a known figure. Sometime in September, we will have a clearer picture on the state money.
Now, that was Chairman Ashley Hogwood. He will now take this budget across the street to County Manager Jerry Fox, and he has until May 1st to do that. It's then up to the commission to decide if this or any other county budget, how it will actually affect any property tax, if there will be another tax hike.
Davis, with what they're doing there. Joey?
Tom, Action League for Life President Karen Graham and 3 of her supporters are expected to begin a 30-day sentence here at the county jail. They're expected to arrive here around 6 o'clock. They'll be serving time after each refused to pay a $297 court fine, including court cost. You'll recall a Superior Court judge found them guilty of second-degree trespassing after a December abortion protest at one of Charlotte's 6 clinics for abortion services.
You should leave. If you don't leave, you're going to be placed under arrest.
December 3rd of last year, 25 anti-abortionists arrested. 4 months later, 4 sentenced to jail. Today, their critics spoke out against their actions, saying they're doing it for media attention.
I think that by getting the sympathy of the public by going to jail rather than paying the bond or paying the fine, might just do just that, might get the sympathy of the public and certainly will get them the airtime.
But Karen Graham and Bill Garrett say their reason for opting for a jail sentence is to fight the system.
The court system says that because we did what we did on their behalf, we have to pay a fine. To me, that's putting money back into the system that enforces the killing. So I'm basically being penalized for trying to save human life, and I'm not going to do that.
We would do this with or without the media there. I mean, it's a great secondary effect to have the media there to get our message out. But we would do this without you. And you know, you guys called us. We didn't call you. We're there for the babies. We're not there for the television cameras.
Graham and Garrett say they're not looking forward to the jail term, but they'll do it again for their cause.
It's very possible that, you know, before the laws are changed, I'll be doing an awful lot of time in jail. And if that's what it takes to change the laws and save babies, that's the price I'm going to have to pay.
But I think that it's certainly an act of sensationalism.
Now, besides Graham and Garrett, Jamie Schackinger, a small business owner, and Pam Schufert, a missionary, will serve their jail sentences also. They're expected to arrive very soon here. By the way, Tom, they're calling themselves political prisoners tonight.
All right, Joey. You know, there have been 3 protests in Charlotte since last October. Are there any more planned as we get closer to the Supreme Court case beginning April 26th based on that Missouri case?
Karen Graham told me, despite the fact that she may be in jail at the end of this month, that yes, they are also planning another rally or protest. That's going to be April 29th, not only here in Charlotte, but across the country. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. It will be the 4th since October.
Okay, stand by, if you will, for the surrender of the 4 suspects. We'll be back to you shortly. Again, the 4... policy of what to do toward stopping children's abuse of illegal substances.
That really convinced me that I wanted to take on as my goal, bringing it to North Carolina and seeing it spread across the state.
Good job. And if you're in the our newscast, you know, so go figure.
Let's see.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
2, 3, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, you gotta do all angles on a big story, and the Hornets are indeed a big story. Tomorrow, to see what they've thought about the tremendous fan support this season.
Fans definitely added a lot of addition to this team. The only thing I just want to say is just continue coming out, appreciate the support, and we love you.
For us, I hope it's been, you know, just as good for them. You know, we think so with the way they kept on turning out, even at the end of the year, even when we were going through that downtime. So thanks for all the support, and hope to see you back next year.
Just thanks, and that they were great. And they were great when things were good for us, and they were great when we were struggling and fighting to win. And the thing we appreciate the most, I think, is when they hung with us when things were tough.
Well, I'd like to thank them for their support throughout the whole year, even though, you know, we've had some ups and downs. But hopefully we'll do better next year, and if they keep the support up, we'll try to do better.
I'd just like to thank them for coming out each and every game. You know, we didn't win a lot of games, but hopefully we played some exciting basketball, and you know, I hope that their support continues throughout the next few years.
I'd just like to sincerely thank you all for coming out each and every night and supporting us. It's very easy to support a winning organization, but it's very tough to support one that doesn't win each and every night. And it's for you that we played, and it's for you that we worked as hard as we did all season long, and we thank you very much.
I'd like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all the fans of Charlotte, to all the people of Charlotte. You know, it's been remarkable the way they've supported our team, myself, my family. It's been my most special NBA season, and it's because of Charlotte. You know, I played a lot of other places, but this has been the best, and I just want to say thanks for my family. Thanks.
You know, one can only...
Alcoholics and a snag in the Oliver North trial.
For Teal Day, I'm Joey Pop. I'll have the inside story and a preview of tomorrow's Teal Day.
And I'm Steve Raleigh.
Around the Charlotte area expects to shine in a sea of teal. April 21st has been officially proclaimed Teal Day in honor of the Hornets' final home game. It is the topic of our inside story tonight, and we join Joey Pop outside the Coliseum, home of the Hornets. And Joey, fill us in.
Good evening, Tom. Folks here at the Coliseum have been getting ready all day for that fantastic finale. That's what they're slugging tomorrow night's game against the Milwaukee Bucks. You can bet the 23,388 fans that will be here will be all fancied up in that color of teal, as well as the whole region. You see, the mayor is asking everyone to wear teal tomorrow to school and to work. Well, today we caught some folks who got an early start. Teal everywhere. Well, it could be found this morning at Cotswold Elementary. These kids were still buzzing with excitement because Hornet Robert Reed had just visited their school. Well, they expect to sport their new favorite color again tomorrow.
And boys and girls, we want to remind you to wear your teal again tomorrow. For some of you, that may mean rinse and wear.
Because I thought teal is an unusual color to have for a basketball team or something.
What do you think now?
I think it's nice with purple mixed in with it. It's a nice color.
Teal, it's my favorite pretty much because of the Hornets.
These sixth graders are pretty sharp. They know teal comes in different shades.
We were just talking about, like, some of them are kind of more green. I mean, they've got different shades, and it's hard to tell because of the different shirts.
Across town, this is what they were cooking up at True Legends Restaurant.
This is teal beer, folks.
Mona Ford says Carolina blue food coloring mixed with UNCC green makes a perfect Charlotte teal. You think it'll take off?
Sure it will. Look at it. Great. Coliseum will pick it up before long.
Some folks have more expensive teal taste. Catherine Maynard picks up her new teal car tonight just in time for Teal Day.
I'm in the spirit of it. Definitely in the spirit of it, and I will have my teal car for the next, hopefully, many years to come. I'll be ready for Hornets and Teal Day.
But no one may be more ready than 1-year-old Wallace Wyatt. Today, his mom showed off her teal baby. Has his little teal outfit on. Will he be wearing it tomorrow, too?
We'll go home and wash it out and drip it dry and wear it again. His brother and sister will be wearing theirs, too, Emily and Michael.
A lot of folks will be wearing that teal. If you're coming to the game, you're asked to get here early. There's all types of activities that will be taking place here at the Coliseum as well as in the parking lot. If you can't make it, go ahead and turn us on here at News 36 at 5:30. We will have a special show showing you the different activities as well as wrap up this very successful inaugural season. Tom?
Hornets have fans of all ages, Joey.
You better believe it.
How about you? You going to be wearing some teal?
Hey, I don't have it on tonight. Are you wearing some? I couldn't see there in the monitor, but yeah. I'll be wearing my teal tie tomorrow, maybe even my Hornets sweatshirt.
All righty. Now, we understand that Hugo is ill. How about his chances for making it tomorrow?
As a matter of fact, when we were at Cotswold Elementary today, Hugo the Hornet was supposed to be there with Robert Reed. We were told at the school that he is down with walking pneumonia, and Hornets front office will not confirm that. However, they do say that Hugo is sick. There's only one Hugo, and they're keeping their fingers crossed that Hugo will be here for tomorrow night's finale.
All right, we'll keep ours crossed, too. Hope he makes it for that last.
Strong twice as fast as regular Rolaids. Main seated and come to order. This court is again in session.
Well, we have here what we call in the law bailment for hire.
Live from the Charlotte Coliseum, where fans are already starting to arrive for the final home game, the Hornets versus the Milwaukee Bucks, and we have put together a special look at what these Hornets mean to their fans.
All season, the games have been one big party. I'm Joey Pop. We'll take a look at the fantastic fans.
This is Dave Barker. Coming up, we're going to be taking a look at the Hornets season through the eyes of an expert fan.
This is where NBA attendance records in their first year of our team. Another sellout crowd expected tonight. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Jesse Johnson has the night off. I'm Tom Miller coming to you live from the Charlotte Coliseum. I'll be joined here by Steve Raleigh and Jim Selania. And this is a very, very special night as they prepare for the big finale for the last home game here for the Charlotte Hornets. Our Beatrice Thompson is standing by live outside the Coliseum where fans are already starting to arrive, and she's set to tell us just what these fans can expect during this last blast for the Hornets. Beatrice?
Well, Tom, such a sea of teal and purple you'd never found before in your life all over this parking lot. If you didn't think folks were going to wear it today, they really have, and most of them are here. And it's the last blast for all these Hornets fans who have supported this fledgling team this first year. Earlier today, banners thanking the team and fans were hung all around the Coliseum. Literally thousands of Hugo dolls, complete with round balls, traveled around the world to be in the Coliseum tonight. Now, all of this will be yours for a price if you got tickets. Coliseum employees were putting stages and extra seats in place, most for that final blast party planned for after the game. And also in the honor spot, the car that one of the fans will be getting before this is all over is going to be awarded. And you see some shots down on the Coliseum floor now. There's a big party going on in there. Coliseum officials say they will be giving away everything from T-shirts to sodas and all of that to the fans who have followed this team and kept them going. And there's also going to be contests going all evening long, and these are some of the things they're going to be giving away. Now, there's the outrageous fan contest where someone is going to be wearing something real weird and they'll probably win. And there's a special presentation by owner George Shin to his fellow owners, and then they will unfurl a championship of sorts banner for attendance records. a special presentation to Robert Reed because of all those points, 10,000 this season. And they'll give away a CD account going for the money, and a mini car giveaway, and a jet ski giveaway, and an airline trip giveaway, and a piano giveaway, and then finally you get the car. Now, a bunch of folks are going to win a bunch of stuff here tonight, and all of it is because the Hornets are saying, thanks so much, we appreciate it.
KB, we understand you're surrounded out there by a sea of teal, as you said, and some fans already arriving. Exactly what are they up to out there?
Well, they got some pre-show games going on for them. There's this person that's dressed like a Milwaukee Buck, and he is so wet, they've dunked him all day. And then you get to shoot baskets with David Thompson over here in the corner. And on my far right, there are people looking at each other's costumes because they put teal and purple together in the weirdest kind of ways.
Okay, now they asked fans to arrive early, B, to avoid the crowd and the traffic jams. Are they doing that? A lot of people out there?
Yeah, there are a lot of people out, and as usual, the cones are out on Tyvola Road, so look out for those orange things if you're coming. And only come if you've got tickets, but there are some people out here having tailgate parties. They don't have any kind of tickets, and they're dressed to impress, but they still want to have a party.
Okay, sounds real good, B. Thank you. Well, after tonight's game, when the numbers are all added up, 950,000 fans will have seen the Hornets play this season. It is the first time that an expansion team has ever led the NBA in attendance in its first year. And as our Joey Pop reports tonight, the attendance figures aren't a matter of so much winning or losing, it's how you play the game.
They'll tell you it's a party that can't be missed. From Muggsy or Rex hitting a three-pointer, to Hugo buzzing around, to Spike and Blind Eddie. These games are electrifying.
I've lived in other cities, and I lived in New York, I've lived in Washington, and it's nothing like Charlotte fans. They're so behind all of the teams. It's very exciting.
The crowd, the excitement, it's just very, a whole new atmosphere around this. It's enjoyable.
One big party.
That's right.
Are you the biggest fan?
Yeah, I think I am. I lose my voice every game. I lose my voice. I guess you hear me yelling.
The fans stunned the NBA by leading the league in record attendance. Just under 1 million folks caught the Hornets at the Coliseum this year. And with all that body energy floating around, a lot of refreshment has been dished out. How much beer you think's been consumed this season?
Personally? A lot.
To be exact, 23 million ounces or 581,000 cups of suds got guzzled. 406,000 hot dogs eaten, and 514,500 cups of soft drinks sipped away. It's hard to believe the season's almost over, but the fans say they just can't wait until next year. What is next for Charlotte?
Danny Ferry and a championship, I hope.
Joey Pop, News 36.
Well, it is interesting to hear those fans hoping for a championship when just a couple of years ago, a lot of them were saying that an NBA franchise would never happen here. It's also ironic to hear them hope that the Hornets wouldn't do too well this season so that they would get a high draft pick. But I sat down with George Shinn yesterday, had a chat with him, and I found that the path that the Hornets are following right now really didn't matter too much about winning games and so forth and what the fans thought about it, because that path was set when George Shinn was still in his teens.
There's an enormous amount of struggling to get this franchise. Nobody gave us a chance. Even the local community here thought it was ridiculous that it wouldn't work.
The community had its doubts, but George Shinn, a man who barely made it out of high school, never did. This man, who lived through his younger years on welfare, food stamps, and in hand-me-down clothes, knew how to struggle and win. The season has been an incredible financial success. And while Shinn won't disclose the specifics, he gives the credit to his general manager, Carl Shear, his coach, Dick Harter, and his players.
They've been in the community. They've been making speeches. They've been going to schools, churches, and all types of civic organizations to promote the Hornets. And I think this, in turn, helped people just get closer to the team.
Shinn has received some criticism. Some fans feel he should have gone for a poor record and the resulting high draft pick at the end of the season. But Shinn is happy with his long-standing decision to get at least 20 wins.
Now, I might change my mind when that lottery comes, and we might end up 7th, 8th, or 9th. But we also got a shot of 1st, 2nd, or 3rd.
Shin does hope to do well in the draft and win more games next year, but still that goal takes the all-important fans into consideration.
By winning more games, the Coliseum has agreed to broaden their menu and to have better food, and so all of that is plus for the fans.
Well, as you heard, he did get the 20 wins. That was one goal. He had another, and that was to break the NBA attendance record this year for the franchise attendance, surpassing all attendance in the NBA, and he met that goal too. So I guess we shouldn't be too surprised within the next couple of years if George Shinn brings that NFL franchise to the Charlotte area, to York County, and moves AAA baseball into York County in his new stadium down there. Well, the Hornets have brought jobs and prosperity to Charlotte, no doubt about that. And Kurt Lee is going to tell us that a new report to be released will conclude that the Hornets are an economic blessing almost without equal.
Before the first roar of the crowd, before Hornets tickets were the hottest item in town, there were many who thought George Shinn and his partners were flirting with a $32 million disaster. 3 years ago, the economic forecast for the Hornets was completed here at UNCC. At that time, it was predicted 8,500 people average would attend the games for the first year, and over the first 5 years, the economic impact would total $183 million. Both figures far too low.
I feel comfortable that what you're looking at is an impact that's probably twice as large as what we had measured before.
And what you measured before was significant.
It's significant, that's right. You know, the Charlotte Hornets are probably the biggest thing from an economic standpoint that hits this town since airline deregulation and banking deregulation.
Economist John Connaughton, who authored that 1986 study, is days away from a new one with the first complete dollar figures. He concludes Charlotte will rake in millions as people come here to see the games and spend money. Many fans travel from far corners of the Carolinas to see the Hornets. And the Chamber of Commerce is well aware, further away, people are seeing the team and remembering Charlotte.
One of our board members was just in Seattle a week or so ago, touring the Seattle facilities, and everybody in Seattle was talking with excitement about Charlotte, primarily because of the Hornets activity. 2 years ago, most people in Seattle would have not known where Charlotte was. Many of the corporate ticket sales that were sold were to companies here in town who are bringing in clients to entertain them, hopefully for repeat business.
Charlotteans also spend plenty on the Hornets, but how does it help to spend our own money here?
Charlotte really, until very, very recently, has suffers from entertainment leakage, we call it.
Entertainment leakage is spending our money for extravaganzas from out of town, which take the money with them when they go. The Hornets are plugging a leak amounting to tens of millions of dollars a year. The team's value to its partners, no one will say. But now, certainly much more than the original $32 million. Kurt Lee, News 36.
Well, those numbers obviously reflect a great success financially for this Hornets team. Right now, we want to take you back to a time when there were no numbers. You may recall we took a Hornets season ticket holder on a tour of this Coliseum before it ever opened. Well, right now, Dave Barker returns with him for a Hornets report card of sorts.
Los Angeles is my favorite team.
It was 8 months ago when we gave Kevin his first glimpse of the Coliseum.
That's big. They said that's quite a few $1 million. That's beautiful. The first thing that strikes me about this is it looks like you can see from almost anywhere.
A lot obviously has changed since then.
The thing that I enjoy so much about it now versus before is that it's full, and it's full every night. And that's fun, and very loud, yeah.
Let's actually go back outside to begin this walking report card. Is traffic still the big problem here?
I think it's still a problem, but it's so much better than what it was in the beginning. In the beginning, it seemed to take forever to get into a game, but now they've got the different lanes moving. People kind of understand they have $3 ready, and people have the money ready, and it moves a lot faster than what it used to move.
Still a ways to go?
It'd be nice if they open up the additional road that they're talking about building. I tell you one thing, the nice things about the concessions, there's a lot of them. People are friendly. The lines, they're not too long. They can be a little long at times at halftime or right after a quarter, but besides that, you can get your refreshments, get them quickly, for a reasonable price. A little expensive, but again, if you compare them to around the country, it's not bad at all. out here for, to see us play close against great teams. And we're doing it. I went to playoff games a few years ago in Philadelphia. And I tell you, I have never run into fans as exciting as ours. Hugo is a lot of fun, and hopefully next year we might even have cheerleaders. You never know. You know, it's the enthusiasm, and they'll cheer the whole game, regardless of what goes on. And you watch the wave, you go, yay! And it makes it a lot of fun.
Reaction a year ago.
Doesn't get any better than this. This is wonderful for the price.
Reaction today.
Has it lived up to your expectations? Absolutely.
Obviously a very satisfied customer. Dave Barker, News 36.
Well, the preparations are really coming down to the wire here. A big band set up at the end of the Coliseum. They've been warming up. You don't hear them right now, but they have been. The fans are coming into the parking lot, more and more of them all the time. They're having a real good time out there with their tailgate parties and so forth. They'll be coming into the Coliseum in just a moment, and there should be plenty of the color teal. We'll be back shortly. Right now we go to Rick Jack. The ushers are getting ready.
And so I opened the door, and he said, because he said he had to use the telephone to call the police when he came here, and he used the telephone, and he acted like he was talking to the police and said he wanted to report a theft.
But instead of reporting a crime, Angela was about to be the victim of one. After the stranger got inside her home, he threatened to hit her if she did not hand over some money.
And he said, I hate to have to hit you over the head with this hammer. He was bending down, getting it out of his pocket. And he said, but I need some money or some jewelry.
Moments later, her roommate walked in.
He said, give me that jewelry or something. So and I was like, I gave him the ring. He said, I know you got some money in that pocketbook. He said, come on, got to be some in there. And I handed him the pocketbook for him to look in it.
He got away with about $150 worth of jewelry and money.
We help the victim by giving them a chance to express their fears and their concerns, just to have someone to talk to. That's part of what we do. We also give them information about the court system and what they can expect.
This victim assistance office at the Charlotte Police Department is where Angela and Laura can turn to for counseling. But as crime increases in assaults and robberies, Morrison feels more money should be given to her program. Instead, she believes the city could cut her budget.
We are concerned that the city of Charlotte is thinking about cutting some of the funds for our agency.
In the meantime, Angela and Laura hope the person who robbed them is caught soon. As far as preventing another crime like this,
You never know when someone's telling the truth or not, so I would just have to work from the inside, let them stand outside.
Joey Pop, News 36.
The Charlotte...
Really being said in a kind of underhanded way is that blacks are closer to beasts and animals in terms of their genetic and physical and anatomical makeup than they are to the rest of humanity. And that's where the indignity comes in.
Tom Brokaw, good morning.
Good morning.
Your critics are going to say that merely asking this question implies a certain amount of racism. How do you plead?
They're already saying that, I think. Well, how we plead is that knowledge is better than ignorance, and there's a growing body of information, both culturally and biologically, that shows that there are some distinct differences that do exist. And what we try to do is to put that into a context, into an appropriate perspective tonight. We're trying to lift it out of the gutter, lift it out of the barroom, so that people will know knowledge from myth. And I think that on balance that we have succeeded at that. Although this is an issue that is still very much in progress. People are still coming to conclusions about it all.
Bother you at all that some of the scientific evidence may support the beliefs of some avowed racists?
No, not necessarily, because there are differences between us. I mean, for example, blacks are susceptible to sickle cell anemia.